Tim, should we tell the listeners how to join the Golfweek Amateur Tour?
Yes, of course. We should probably do it now before we forget, though.
I agree. It's simple. All you need to do is go to amateurgolftour.net, click the Join the Tour button, and pay your local tour's membership.
Thanks, Chris. Membership for 2024 is open, so register today to join the oldest, largest, and best amateur tour in the country.
And remember, this podcast can be found on all the major platforms. So make sure you like, download, and share it with all your friends and family.
Chris, that's a great idea. Now, on to the show. All right, Chris, welcome back. This is going to be a special episode, but before we get to that, we've got some unfinished business that we have to address from our 2 weeks away.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited for this episode. It's going to be a first for us, but I'm pretty sure we'll keep the tradition going. But yeah, let's talk about what we forgot.
Oh,
Can't believe we forgot it.
And boy, did we forget it. I was made aware of it, and I don't even know what to say. We in our last episode was right before Mother's Day, and we failed to even moderately address it. So I've been properly scolded, and make sure we don't miss that moving forward. But
right.
But happy Mother's Day to all the mothers that are out there, and whether you're a golfer, whether you're your son's husbands, brothers, sisters, or whatever, or golfers, thanks for letting them spend some time with us throughout the year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, being a mother is difficult, especially if you have a golfer as your significant other. It's got to be a little bit harder. So yes, we promise we won't forget it again moving forward. But we did get a little scolded about that from our significant others, and we'll do better next time.
Yeah, we got to do better. If there's one thing we can't forget, we can't forget that one moving forward.
No, can't forget the mothers or the wives.
So we're sorry about that, moms out there. But again, happy Mother's Day, and we'll hit you up next year, and remember you properly throughout the year. But you also
definitely.
You also received a package in the mail. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, so received a package. Was addressed from the Masters. I was really hoping it was tickets for next year. But one of our previous guests on the show, Mr. Chris Taylor, he sent me a very nice Masters ball marker. I assume from the tournament. It was unexpected. I really do appreciate it.
He didn't hand paint that, did he? Well, it wasn't like a hand painted.
No.
Craft?
It's not. It's now in a frame.
So it's a real ball marker. It's a real Masters ball marker.
It's real ball, legit ball marker. All yellow and everything. I don't think I want to use it. I'm just gonna keep it over here by my computer. But yeah, no, I really do appreciate it. I think Tim, you also got something from him, and it's great to see that people are enjoying the show and they're thinking about us when they're at these special events.
Well, the only thing I got from him was an email that he sent something to you.
Oh
yeah, so that's why I was wondering if it was hand painted. If it was like a
no, maybe yours is still
it's probably
still
in the mail
processing. Yeah,
probably in the mail.
I mean, you've been out of town for a while, so it might have gotten bumped around here or there.
Yeah, we're still up in Pennsylvania with the grandkids, and we just spent 3 full days with them. My daughter, her husband got to go away for the first time since just 2 of them since
right.
The oldest was born 3 years ago. So Jen and I had 3 days of grandparents only duty, which was great.
There you go.
I loved it. So yeah,
coming from me and my wife, we have 2 little boys, and whenever we're able to get away, just me and my wife, and my mother watches the boys. Even if it's for a weekend, it relaxes us. It re-energizes us. And I'm pretty sure your daughter and son-in-law feel the same way. So from us, I want to thank you for being able to do that for them, because I know it means a lot. And it re-energizes the parents, especially with 3 little ones like that.
Yeah. And when they came in today, you could just see it on their face, how much they appreciated, Jen and I being able to do it. And the reality is I would do it whether they wanted us to or not, just because I'm,
Right.
because I'm Pops and
Right.
I love hanging out with the little kids. So anyway, but let's talk about what this episode is all about and why it's so special.
Yeah, definitely. So, there's an important weekend coming up once this episode airs. We know as big as a tour as Golfweek is and the senior tour, there's a lot of these members that we're going to recognize in our tour. So we kind of wanted to give them the spotlight, let them talk about their journey, and how they enjoy, Golfweek, or how golf has impacted their life while they are serving for our country.
Yeah, with Memorial Day coming up, and it's a perfect time because we're in the middle of the season, and understand there really is a difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day. Veterans Day is to celebrate all veterans, where Memorial Day is used to celebrate those who've given their lives in the line of duty. But we choose to do it now because we're in the middle of the season. And it really does kind of tie in very well with some of the majors that are going on. There's one coming up in the Whistling Straits, one at PGA West, La Quinta Memorial Day weekend. And, kind of think about, whether you're playing golf on Memorial Day or you're having a barbecue and having friends over, what the day really signifies and what it means. It's not just a day off. We're supposed to be paying tribute to those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. And I think this is just our way, the tour's way of saying thank you to a handful of veterans because,
Right.
I mean, that list, just the list that I sent you, back and forth, probably had 100 names on it. And that's not even close to all of the, veterans that we have.
Right. No, I completely agree. Us being a military town, El Paso, we got Fort Bliss here. So I see numerous military guys come play on our tour, and then 2 or 3 years later they're gone because they got to go get restationed or whatnot. So we see it a lot over here, and you get to meet these people and get to become good friends. So, being able to kind of recognize them through what you and me decided to do, with this podcast, I think is our way of being able to show our gratitude for what they've done.
Yeah. And the sacrifice that they make for our country and that their families make. And I'll really kind of address that a little bit further, when we wrap everything up. A lot of times I wouldn't say it's unappreciated, but it's just forgotten.
Right.
We'll talk about, some of the sacrifices that they've made and the families have made. And, hopefully they understand how much we appreciate them and how much the tour appreciates having them as members. Throughout the year.
Definitely. I completely agree. This episode is going to be special. You're going to hear, numerous interviews from the men and women in military that we were able to get on here. Some with just Tim, some with just myself, and some with both of us. But I mean, we were trying to get as many as we could. We don't want to make this episode too long for you guys, but we just want to let everybody know that we, if you have served, whether you're active, retired, we appreciate what you've done for us as a country and as a tour. And I hope this episode means a lot to you.
Let's go ahead and get started.
Let's go.
Welcome to the Golfweek Amateur Tour, the podcast. We are your hosts, Tim Newman and Chris Rocha. As the oldest and largest amateur golf tour in the country, we put on individual stroke play golf tournaments that are handicapped by flights in 48 markets across the country. The Golfweek Amateur Tour, where amateurs play like pros. All right, welcome everybody. We're going to start in DC, and we're going to welcome Don Stackhouse to the show. Don, welcome, buddy.
Thanks, Tim. Good to see you.
Good seeing you. You know, we've known each other. It's about 10 years now, and I appreciate you coming on. And you know, when we talked about, you and I talked about a lot of different things, and you bounce ideas off me, and sometimes you say you don't listen. I listen to everything that you say. Sometimes I can do it, sometimes I can't. And this is one of those ideas that you came up with, which is a great idea, and really wanted to have you on. So why don't you tell us about your military service?
Well, I was an E4 enlisted E4 specialist. I joined the Army in '83, U.S. Army in '83. I, of course, went to training and basic and all of that in Fort Gordon and Fort McClellan. Then was sent to Germany. I was in a field artillery unit as a communications specialist, wired communications specialist. Did my 18 months in Germany, then was sent to Fort Bliss, Texas in the 3rd Armed Cavalry Regiment. I was also wire and radio communications for a firing battery, for a headquarters troop in the cavalry. And then after that, I went here back to D.C., and I was stationed in a National Guard, a reserve unit, and I worked communications for a psychological operations battalion. So, and then after my 6 years were up, I got out.
Okay. And so how'd you like being in Germany?
Germany was cool. We did everything. I had a car. We bought I bought an old Volkswagen Beetle. I think it was 1970. It was terrible. The thing was a piece of crap, but we drove it. All my buddies and I, we'd probably got 4 people in that little tiny car. We drove everywhere. We went into Paris. We went to Munich. We skied in Garmisch, which is the Austrian Alps. So we went skiing. I can't tell you how many times we pushed that car to get it someplace, but everybody ended up in my car. So it was a really good time. I love Germany.
So what did you do with the car when you left? You pass it on to your buddies that were staying? Or?
I sold it for $100. I sold it to Private Michigan, was the dude's name, and he bought it for $100. I have no clue what happened to it, but it got me through, 18 months in Germany, and it made it so I didn't just sit around the barracks and drink all day. So it was a lot of fun.
So you drove around Europe and drank all day?
We drove around Europe. Well, we still drank, but and the thing about it, when I was in Germany, the exchange rate for the U.S. dollar was 4-to-1. So for every dollar we made, we got 4 German marks. So a U.S. Army private made the equivalent to a German doctor. So we had tons of money, and we could buy beer for you could get 10 beers for $1. I mean, it was awesome. So we really had a good time over there and could do a lot. And the Army gave us lots of stuff. They gave us the a photography center. They gave us a rec center. They gave us just anything that we could think about doing. Mm-hmm. They supported it, so we could go. Go places on an Army bus for $2 and go to a hotel for $10 or something. So it was really good. It was like an 18-month vacation. The hard part was the Army stuff. Everything else was great. Oh.
And then you went from there to Fort Bliss and sweated your ass off.
Oh, wow. So I remember one particular time we were in the desert of Texas. Actually, it was New Mexico. So El Paso is right on the border. We had a training center in New Mexico, and it was only, an hour drive. But we're there, and it snowed in the morning. I mean, it was cold, and it snowed in the morning, and everybody came out with coats on and morning formation. And by that afternoon, it was 100 degrees in the desert. I've never seen temperature change the amount that was in the desert. I spent a month in the middle of the desert in a track vehicle. It was a retrans station. So we spent a month there, and there was 2 of us, and we lived in this track for a month. And so that the troops in the field could use their radio The radio we would receive their transmissions, and then we would retransmit it on a different frequency. So we were just an APC, an armed personnel carrier with a bunch of radios in the back, and so the troops could transmit and they could receive it back at the base. So the colonel could tell everybody what to do over the radio. But a whole month we stayed out there in the middle of the desert, and we ate MREs 3 meals a day. And they came out with water about every 3 days or something. They brought us a little thing of water and some new MREs. But it's part of the job. It was kind of cool, but, it is what it is. We used to kill rattlesnakes. I think we probably killed 6 rattlesnakes. They would get underneath of the track because it was shade.
Right.
And the guy I was with, said, well, there's another rattlesnake under the track. And the guy that brought the water and the MREs was fearless. He'd just crawl in there, grab it, rip his head off, and then they'd walk around with a snake, with a rattlehead snake. He'd chop the rattle off, and he'd keep the rattle and just throw the snake away. He was crazy. And if he ever got bit, I don't know, it would probably be 4 hours before a medic could get there.
Yeah, so. My God. If I was there, saw the snake there, I'm not leaving. I'm not getting out.
He closed the back of the APC. That's it.
I'd rather sweat to death.
I know, not one outside again.
Yeah.
No, it was fine.
Did y'all ever cook the rattlesnakes when you're out there, or did you just?
No. Just we buried them in the sand. Just the heads were off, the tails were off. All was left was a body. I think we weren't allowed to have a fire.
Probably not.
Yeah, but anyway, it was still a cool experience. And then we wrecked that track on the way home. I had a date, and we had 4 hours to get that APC from the middle of Diana Desert back to the base. So we were hauling butt. I mean, just balls to the wall. And the track came off and lost control and flipped it on its side. And then we were there for 3 days waiting for the M88 to come pick us back up and put our track back on. So, but it is what it is. It was still fun.
How did you transfer from communications into the PSYOPs?
I was communications for the PSYOPs.
Okay,
I didn't actually create the psychological stuff.
Okay.
We had lots of different ways to spread propaganda.
Right.
And so some of that was radio, some of it was, loudspeakers on a helicopter, and, so communicating is just, but there was a whole bunch of officers that created the propaganda. We had a linguist that served, that spoke just about every language that you could think of. There was a guy in our unit or a woman who spoke that language. You could read it and write it and create the propaganda.
Wow.
So it's kind of cool mission. Mm-hmm. And the other thing, we used to eat lunch at Andrews Air Force Base. And so this is my first, anything to do with that Air Force Base. And they live completely different than the Army. I mean, he's talking about months in a tank. Those guys are like into Hilton, and their chow hall is like going to Cracker Barrel or something. It's really nice. And I'm like, I don't know why I joined the Army when the Air Force is so much better. So and almost every job in the Air Force has a civilian equivalent. So you could go in the Air Force, get trained, get out of the Air Force, and go in, to a civilian job.
Right, government service job, right.
Right, and get paid well day one as out of the Army. Most Army jobs have no civilian equivalent, so you have to learn a whole new trade when you get out. You know that,
Yep.
Not very big calls for jumping out of airplanes or something,
No, not at all. Not at all. Well, let's transition and talk a little bit about golf.
Okay.
Like I said, we've known each other for 10 years. I met you and your wife and me at a golf show. And as I was preparing, to talk to you about this, I started looking at your history. That's when I realized it's been 10 years. So you
Has it? I didn't realize it's been that long. Time flies when you're having fun.
It does. And, you've up till now, you've played 179 rounds.
Wow.
Yeah. How about that? And take into account the time that you couldn't play because you hurt your knee.
Right.
And so if I added everything up, if you make every tournament on the DC schedule, along with, you're going out to La Quinta for Memorial Day, and we'll talk about that here in a second, and you go to national championship, you're going to be at over 200 rounds in 10 years. So you're averaging, 20 rounds a year when we're only playing on the regular schedule 12 or 13, and that's that's phenomenal. So you never miss.
Well, it's fun and I enjoy it, and I don't, some men get crap from their wives for about playing golf, but she's playing golf right now. It's 8:00 in the evening, and she's still at the golf course. She's been there since 6 a.m. She worked a full shift, and then she goes plays, 18 holes.
Remember, she's in the A flight too, so she's
and she can crush it. I don't know if you're, if you guys know Amy, she's a good golfer.
She really is.
But and our vacations are planned around golf. I mean, we look at the schedule and we see where a regional is happening, and do we want to go there? And we pick a regional, and that's where our vacation is, and wrap it around a regional. We, our buddies who play on the tour, they're going to go, we're going to this place this week, and if we'll join you and grab a hotel and drive there or fly there. Like next, this coming tournament, we're flying. So, it's fun. It's, you're hanging out with your friends. I once told your wife that coming to a tournament is like going to a family reunion every 2 weeks.
Yes.
And not the family reunion that you don't want to go to. It's the one that you do want to go to,
You're looking forward to seeing everybody.
It's a family reunion every 2 weeks. You see everybody, you talk, you play golf, you drink, and I don't want to sound like I'm a drunk or anything, but, you do the things that people do at golf courses, and it's fun. You hang out afterwards, you get your prizes, you get your trophies if you're lucky enough to get one, and you hang out with your friends.
Uh-huh.
And it's great. And in my case, my wife is right there with me, and she's, just as she's not drinking because she's driving, but, she's doing, just enjoys it just as much as everyone else. And I think the other players on our tour, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, they're her buddies too.
Absolutely they are.
And now, with A flight, she's in A flight, so our friends are different than mine because I'm in C flight, but it's a good time.
It is.
It's a good time.
It is. So you guys are heading out to La Quinta in 2 weeks.
Right.
What are you looking forward to?
Let's take a quick break and hear from our sponsor, Srixon.
A great iron set needs more than good looks. It's got to be fast and got to be pure. But good looks never hurt either. The all-new ZX Mark II irons from Srixon.
Well, PGA West, that's a draw right there. The competition, I hardly ever win, but Amy wins quite frequently, and I think it's cool that that she wins and she beats the men, and that's cool. And I tell you what, I don't know where we're going to put another trophy. If she gets another trophy, it's going to break the shelf. I'm telling you.
Well, you got to clear out some of the shoes. Maybe have a trophy.
Well, the shoes too. You're going to get me in trouble. She got a whole room full of shoes.
Have you ever played out there before?
Yeah, actually, we have played PGA West, and it's a good course. It's a desert course, but it's very, very well kept. It's clean. It's got all the amenities of when you go to a course, it's got a locker room and stuff. Of course, that doesn't really mean anything, but it's got that outside bar that you can just hang out and have a real good time. Last year, we went to the one TPC Scottsdale, and that was a great time too. So we really look forward to the regionals. And we play on the senior tour too.
Oh,
Both
that's right.
and I play on the senior.
DC
has
a senior tour this year.
It's small. I know first year inaugural a year. Dave Phillips is doing a great job. He's really doing his very, very best, but you only get 15 or 20 players out there. And, so there's not a big crowd.
But it'll grow because
it will.
I mean, I just know, my time in DC, everybody has been asking for, a senior tour, and it just takes a couple of years. It'll go from 15 this year to 50 next year to 75 the year after that, and then he's off to the races. It just
Yep. He's a very well organized, as are most all of the tour directors, and nothing against anybody else, but he's very organized. He truly wants everybody to have a good time, and he'll do whatever it takes to make sure everybody has a good time. And I like that in a tour director.
Yeah,
and Cephas has done well too with the regular flight. I mean, with the regular golf week, but and as did you when you had. So
now I'm glad that we're down to one tour, and I'm very happy for that. So
I know it's a handful. I know it's hard work, and I can see it in Cephas. I can see it in Dave Phillips, and they work hard.
Mm-hmm.
And but I think that's the kind of, well, they knew what they were signing up for, but that's their kind of people,
right?
They want to work hard,
right? They want to put on a good tournament. They want people to enjoy themselves and have fun, and and your the motto is you're play like the pros, and so it we have to put it on in that kind of manner. Well, Don, thank you so much for coming on. I really do appreciate it. I can't tell you how much I appreciate and value our friendship and your service to our country. And well, I can't wait to see you. If you guys get free, come on down to Atlanta, come on down to Hilton Head. We'd love to hang out.
We will. And Tim, thanks for your service to our country, and
thank you.
And I'm proud of you for that. And I'm proud of our friendship. So, all right, take care.
Tommy, I said hi, and we'll see you soon.
You got it.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah, I'll do that.
All right, buddy. All right, so we're going to stay in D.C. and talk to James Briggs. He's retired from the Coast Guard. James, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to see you, Tim.
Good seeing you. First, I want to thank you for your service. And I know you were in the Coast Guard. Tell us a little bit about, I know you retired from the Coast Guard. Tell us a little bit how long you were in, what your rank was, what your job duties were. Because most people don't really equate the Coast Guard as one of our military branches of our military. And so I'm glad to know you, but I'm also glad that you were Coast Guard, because you're the only Coast Guard person that I know of that's on the tour.
Okay, yeah, fine. Yeah, I joined the Coast Guard. Like I said, I went to the Coast Guard at 17. I always thought about the other military branches because I knew I wasn't probably going to go to college right out of high school. And a recruiter came by, and they had this special program, which was unique, I guess, for the Coast Guard. So I went to boot camp actually between my junior and senior year of high school. And and it was in the reserves, like for, when I first went in, it was a very unique, I'm from Petersburg, Virginia, jobs, summer jobs other than cutting grass and stuff like that. And, the recruiters, hey, we got this thing. You can join the military. You can drill while you finish high school. And then you can come on active duty and figure it out. So that's one of the unique stories about how I went into the Coast Guard. Basically, my thing was to have a summer job, and, from that point on. So I went in and, so I went to boot camp and, come back. All my friends said, hey, man, where you been all summer? And I told them I was in boot camp, and they like, like, what you mean boot camp? You ain't even out of high schools. And, I told them about it, and it was very unique. And so, I went in, I drilled during my time while I finished high school. And then I went on active duty. Once I graduated high school, I went on active duty for 12 weeks for training. And I went in and, I figured, I'd do this and see what happened. And funny thing about it is they sent me to school out in California. I had never been out of Virginia, let alone to the West Coast. So I flew out to California to school for like 3 weeks, and that was it for me. I got to travel. So when I got back from school, I talked to my chief, and I said, hey, chief, how can I stay in the Coast Guard? Because I was only going to be on active duty for 12 weeks. And, I did a letter and everything and sent it to headquarters, and ended up getting on, they approved me to go on active duty. And that's why, I ended up staying and went in. I said, okay, I do 4 years and figure out what I want to do, if I want to go to college or whatever. And, make a long story short, 20 years later, I was still in and retired.
That's That's awesome. So where were you stationed?
Okay, I was stationed out of, in Portsmouth, Virginia, which is only a couple hours from Petersburg. When I first went in. From there, I went back to school, and then I ended up getting stationed in D.C. in headquarters, at Coast Guard headquarters, back in '82. And then from there, I went to the Coast Guard Yard up in Baltimore, Curtis Bay. Was up there for a couple of years, and went back to headquarters. Then I went, I decided I'm going to make it a career. I said, okay, let me go on a ship, to see what the Coast Guard life really about. So I ended up going out to Seattle. I was on a Coast Guard icebreaker that went to the Arctic and Antarctic. Do 6-month deployments. That, a lot of people think the Coast Guard only go out and come in, but we actually have a few ships that travel the world. And, I happened to, do a 3-year tour out of Seattle on one, which was great. I got to go through the Panama Canal. I did a circlet of the North America, because we went down from Seattle, went down below, California, came around through the canal, came up the Atlantic Ocean, went up to the Arctic, to Greenland and, Iceland. We went all up there, and then we came through the Northwest Passage on the way back to Seattle. So that was a very, very unique, 6 months.
That's a very interesting story. I had no idea the Coast Guard did that either.
Yeah. So, when we go to the Arctic and Antarctic, we take about 12 to 15 scientists with us. And, with the global warming going on now, I knew about, they was telling us about that back. I went up there in 1990, which is about 30 years ago or so, more. And they were saying how, because what we do is we take the scientists, pretty much they control when we go up into the ice up there, because they want to go to certain regions and take samples. And I guess these samples would tell them how much meltage is going on and everything. So back then they was talking about global warming, how, we was able to go further and further north because of the ice melt.
Let's take a quick break and hear from our sponsor, Srixon.
ZX Mark II drivers are for major players, major winners, major power. All new ZX Mark II drivers, only from Srixon.
Wow. And we didn't really start talking about it in mainstream until like the early 2000s, and this is where we are now. So, that's it. It's incredible what the military does and this is in all branches that most people really have no idea what goes on.
Yeah. And then, I leave there and I go back to headquarters. Then I actually got to go to Guam for 2 years out in the South Pacific. So I did a 2-year tour out there as well, which was very unique, on an island, just as, 30 miles long and 8 miles wide at the widest point. I did 2 years out there. My specialty, I was a personnel payroll specialist. But when I went to Guam, they sent me to school and I did IT stuff for when I was out in Guam. Pretty much worked out a rate for 2 years.
Wow. Again, who knew Coast Guard went to Guam? So you really did travel the world and got to see a lot of things.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I actually did a cadet cruise back 81 where we went up and that was unique. I was on a ship out of Portsmouth and we went up and we picked up cadets from the academy up in New London, Connecticut. We picked them up and we went on a European tour where I got to go to Spain and France and Amsterdam. As a 19-year-old traveling like that, I was hooked. And I knew, it was a great experience for those 3 months. And, talking to the cadets, at the academy, we had them from freshmen through seniors that was on board. They actually come and sit with us while we was working, to try, they learning the Coast Guard as well, was us. So that was good to, talk to them. And, they was, the future officers of the Coast Guard.
Right. And again, it's amazing. Like you said, you're 19 years old and never really been out of, Virginia.
Right.
And now you're traveling the world.
Yeah. So it was, like I said, the Coast Guard is very unique. It's very small. And my wife, she said, I have friends to this day, 40-year friend relationships. And 80% of those friends I met probably on my first 2 tours in the Coast Guard, that's very odd, that you meet people that at a young age and we actually still stay in contact with each other to this day.
And I think for most people it is odd, but it's kind of the same thing in the golf community, though, right? I mean, you meet people like on tour, people who you met playing golf will then move away. Like take Jimmy Bryant, for example, who moved from DC to Dallas. I don't want to break anybody's hearts, but you and I have talked. You're pretty much very soon going to leave the DC tour and join the Myrtle Beach tour. Because you're moving down south. You got a nice place down there. Your wife's going to retire here soon, and you'll be able to do that. But the community that we built. Again, I'm in Hilton Head. I keep in touch with you guys all the time, and that's just what it is. I think there's a lot of parallels with the military community and the golf community, and that's just one of them.
Oh, yes. And like I said, I did a payroll person there. That was my specialty. When I left Guam, I ended up going to Finance Center in Cleveland. So I did 3 years in Cleveland at the Finance Center up in Cleveland, which was the coldest place I was stationed the whole time. Those 3 years in Cleveland, right there, living off the lake there, wasn't fun, in the wintertime.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So when you're up in Cleveland, are you staying on a ship or?
No, actually, when I was working at the Finance Center, so I lived in Cleveland Heights. I had an apartment then. So during that time, I wasn't married, so it was kind of like it's just me, So I had an apartment and I worked up there, for 3 years. The funny thing about it, I was in Cleveland in 3 years that they didn't have a football team. So I saw the old stadium tore down, the new one built, and I get transferred in 99 right when they get the team back. So, but I ended up going back and seeing a couple games because I still to this day have friends in Cleveland that I still stay in contact with. Before I started golfing, I was a big bowler. I used to bowl 4 nights a week. Wow. I was actually a stretch bowler, back then.
Wow. I again, learn all kinds of new stuff from you. Maybe that's something that you may want to pick back up again. But you don't find too many bowling alleys around anymore either.
No. Actually, I'm going to tell you a funny story. Me and Kim, but you met my wife, Kim. We bowled in a league. Her first time bowling in a league. And we bowled in this league. And, I know a lot of guys. And, they like, oh, man, you bring your wife in and you got all this handicap and da-da-da. So make a long story short, the first year we bowled in a mixed doubles league, we win the league. We come in first place. So I told, hey, baby, ain't number one way to go now. It's damn.
That's it.
So we bowled together up until COVID,
Right.
So we haven't bowled really since COVID. But I do miss it because, it's one of those, I bowl I started bowling when I was in the Coast Guard. I bowled for 40 years or so. So, that was one of my true sports that I picked up,
So when you're bowling, are you doing a 10-pin or duck pin?
10-pin, yeah. And I used to travel. I done bowled all over the country, traveling, bowling, Vegas and Dallas and Florida and, New York. I go, usually every summer I would go to 2 to 3 national tournaments each summer when bowling season ended.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I think, that kind of like helps me with when I my wife said, you always do well when you compete with a lot of people. And she was always wondering why. And I think that comes from my bowling. When I used to bowl national, you bowl with people you don't know and you don't know their game, your game. So you can just focus on yourself more than when you bowl, golfing with friends or bowling with friends, So I think it's one of those things, I think subconscious. I do because I have bowled a lot of time in national tournaments with people you don't know. And it seems like I do well, in golfing same way. I don't understand it, but I think it's subconscious. It's something that I done grown myself into.
Yeah, I like back to the time that Steve and Tom took you on their weekend golf trip. The first time you went down and took everybody's money.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
I thought that was great too.
Yeah.
So,
but like I said, I still have a bunch of Coast Guard friends. I support the Coast Guard. It's one of those services a lot of people don't know about. It's a great service. I mean, one of the great things about the Coast Guard being as small as it is, you always run across, people like now when I travel, like when I went to Innsbruck and played last year, I had a friend that I used to work with that lives down in Tampa. He was my first supervisor in the Coast Guard, and I stayed with him a couple of nights while I was down there with him and his wife. I mean, you're talking about 1980.
Yeah,
he was my first supervisor in the Coast Guard, and we still to this day stay in contact. And he said, "Ain't no way you can't come down here and spend the night with." When I was down there. So, we still stay in contact with it, So like I said, a lot of times, I go places, I know somebody or, know somebody that's in that area. Like when we go to Lake Oconee, I found out a friend, Smitty, that I used to work with in headquarters. He lived in Macon. Him and his wife drove up to Lake Oconee so we could have dinner, because we hadn't seen each other in a while. He found I was that close to him. So him and his wife drove up, and me and my wife, we all had dinner, and we sat there for 3 hours talking.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And again, Macon's only probably, I think it's probably like an hour.
About an hour. It was like about an hour from there, something like that. He said, yeah.
And for him to be able to make that trip up an hour just to see you and have dinner and catch up, that's what it's all about is that friendship.
Yes, and like I said, and it's a funny story. I joined, the golf week on a fluke with me and my wife. Me and one of my buddies was supposed to go to the, they used to have the golf show, and he couldn't make it, so my wife goes with me. So we go and we see the tent there. And she know how competitive I am. And she knew I was new into golfing and everything. So this was her line to me. She said, "You all competitive stuff and you playing this golf stuff. Why don't you go join that league and see what you do?" And to this day, she said that was the worst thing she could have ever did. But make a fun story short. She actually paid for my membership the first year I joined because she wanted me to.
It was 10 years ago. You realize that?
That was
that was 10 years ago.
14 or 13 or 14, 2013 or 2014. It was one of those years that and that's how me and she is. She know how competitive I am, and this best because she know how competitive I was in bowling. I was just starting to golf and everything, but this was her thing to try to punish me because she knew I wasn't that good. So she said, "Go out there and play with them guys and let them kick your butt." And see how and she said to this day, she made herself a golf widow, as she called it, on the summer, because every 2 weeks I'm gone on the weekend.
You're gone.
Yeah.
Be careful what you wish for, right?
Yeah. And that's a true, how I joined Golfweek. It was she paid for me to join.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So outside of the 1 year that you were injured, I mean, you really haven't missed tournaments. I mean,
no. Other than when I had my hip replacement, that's the only year I missed. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So today you've done 157 rounds so far with the tour.
Yeah.
How about that? You know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I know we talked offline a little bit ago, and you're heading out to PGA West. For the Memorial Day Regional with a bunch of guys from DC. So what's been one of your more favorite memories from joining the tour?
Oh, the most favorable thing with it is the friendships that I've met. It's priceless. It is priceless. I mean, it's not a guy on tour that I can't call and talk to. I mean, it's almost like one of those brotherhoods like the military, if you ask me. You know, the guys that I met, I mean, if I have some issues, personal or business or whatever, the people that I have met people in all phases of life that I can call and just rub something off. I mean, and they'll give me their true opinion, you know, from that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, when I sent you the email to see if you'd be interested in coming on this, and because I also sent you a text, and when you didn't respond right away, I thought maybe you'd change your number. You don't want to hear from me anymore because you're down at the beach having fun. So I followed up with an email, and he shot back at me that you were away on vacation in Aruba, and I said, "Oh man, I didn't mean to bother you." And then I looked at your when you had played last, you must have actually played. Say we can't go to Aruba until after we play this tournament.
No, I want to tell you a funny story because my wife saw that, because we actually, the only reason we went, well, the last time we have 2 timeshares in Aruba. So we go every 2 years for two weeks for our anniversary. We go, like we said, every 2 years it'll be something new by the time we go back. And the last time we was there, they gave us like 2 free weeks to come back. I think we upgraded or something, and they gave us 2 weeks, and then one of the weeks was about to expire. So my wife, out of the blue, she said, "Hey, we got this leave that's going to expire in November. We're going in November for 2 weeks. I want to go." She said, and this is funny, she said, "I looked at your schedule and see that you had a tournament on Saturday. Well, we could just miss one day, and we'll leave Sunday instead of Saturday, because usually the check-ins are Saturday to Saturday." So she said, and then she found out it was cheaper to fly there on a Sunday because everybody flies, because most of the resorts there are Saturday to Saturday. So the flight was actually cheaper. We saved like $400 on our ticket by leaving a day later. So she said, that way you can play on Saturday and we can leave Sunday morning.
All because you paid for your membership 10 years ago.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. That's just awesome.
That's a story that she tells all her girlfriends. Hey, be careful with what you give them, because you never know.
Well, thank you so much for taking some time, James. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate your service. Give my best to Kim, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Oh, definitely. Okay, I appreciate it.
All right,
not a problem.
All right, so our next guest on this episode for our special Memorial Day celebration, we have Billy Hinojos from the El Paso Tour. Billy, welcome.
Hey, how you doing today?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Oh, very good, very good.
Yeah, so Billy's been a member with our tour since 2019, 5th season this year. Billy, I don't know if you know all these stats, but I'm just going to run them off real quick. You've played 57 rounds with us.
Right.
And your lowest round was your first event, a 73 at Lone Star in 2019.
Oh, fun. I need to find a way of repeating that.
Yeah, definitely. So you've been with us for a while. I mean, you and me have become very good friends. But one thing that we've talked about before is your service that you've done for our country. Do you kind of want to go through that? Who did you serve for? How long were you with them? Any cool stories you might have, or anything that you want to bring up? The floor is yours, my friend.
All right, I appreciate it. So I was in the service from 2003 until 2011. Active duty from 2003 to 2008. Served at the 3rd Infantry Division and did 2 deployments with them to Iraq. I'm actually a Purple Heart veteran. I was injured in 2005, July 5th. I was a medic. Enjoyed it very much. Had a great time doing it. I was, one of the few guys that was stop loss too. That was an interesting fact that my ETS date, or the day I was supposed to get out of the military, I was voluntold, in what we like to say, to go on one more deployment, which I wasn't the only one. There was probably about hundreds of us that were told that, but, gladly did it. served our country, went on another deployment. During that time frame, I know me and my medical group that I was with, we probably easily worked on over 300-400 casualties. If not, the number was probably higher during my time. I myself easily 100 more casualties during that time. But you know, it was a really good time. I was I think I got out as an E5. Been made that rank a few times. So that was a nice little fact. You know, don't do stupid stuff while you're in. You might lose your rank a few times. But no, I enjoyed it. I'm really proud to have served my country. Never played golf during that time either. I didn't start playing golf until I got out of the service, and it was kind of my way of getting back on my feet. Golf got me kind of getting back into shape. I used it to deal with some of the demons that a lot of us go through with PTSD, with depression. So I was really happy about that. It helped get my mind back together. It was good to be out in the environment. It's good to get with people. I mean, what's the biggest thing me and you do when we're out on the golf course? We joke around. We have a good time. You know, we joke for sure. There's a lot of curse words. There's a lot of calling each other sandbaggers. You name it, we say it, and that's the best thing about it. You know, one thing I've loved about Golfweek, even playing on another tour that I play with the Veteran Golfers Association, you meet a lot of good people. You get to learn a lot about others. You become friends. Golf's a great sport for that. I mean, some of the groups that I play with, especially in this A flight that we have in El Paso, it's one of the best flights, I think, in the country, and I've made some really good friends at it. I mean, it's one of the biggest enjoyments. I show up is sometimes looking at who the pairing is for a flight, and I'm like, oh, I got the same guys, and I know I'm about to have a great time showing up to come play golf.
Yeah, and I mean, you've met people, at the TPC regionals. You and me have traveled to different regionals every year and nationals. So you get to meet a lot of people within Golfweek, and now with you being involved in your VGA tour, I mean, you're telling me all these trips that you get to travel to, which is awesome. And the fact that they take care of you veterans is just something that's incredible.
Well, not just that. I mean, Golfweek itself has been helping out with too. I mean, now me and you are both getting to see my Veteran Golfers Association and Golfweek members, and we all get to just enjoy both tours. And it's just, they're both kind of playing off each other. So I mean, me and you are both getting to help veterans in our own way. You know, you're getting to put on your events at the same time too. I'm getting to put my events, and all we're doing is helping golfers and veterans alike enjoy the game.
Definitely. Now, I mean, we've played some good courses. You and me have traveled quite a few. Within these 5 years, what's probably your favorite course that you've played?
That me and you have played it right now, we're having to go with Whistling Straits. I mean, I think me and you got to go over there. We think we both placed, had a great time. We met great people while we were there. I think weather, we were really lucky for Whistling Straits. We got some great weather. Had your brother on that trip. And it was just a great time. I mean, I think one thing we luck out too is sometimes we get to travel with family. And, I got to take my wife on a trip. It's just, you can't beat playing a course where the Ryder Cup was at a few years ago. And to see, I mean, I think hearing the stories from the caddies talking about, Jordan Spieth was right here. This is where he hit that shot. Look, like, man, how did he execute that shot? So right now, I'd say Whistling Straits is definitely my top course that me and you played.
Yeah, I mean, this year we're going to Branson, so we'll see if it can top it. I mean, we are playing Paynes Valley, which is going to be fun, but that's not a tournament course, so we'll see how the other two hold up.
Yeah, we play like a tournament style anyways. So we'll be playing and trying to see who's going to get the best score / who gets bragging rights.
Bragging rights, who gets who hits it in the water on hole 19. Because, no one's going to live that down, especially when we do into Sawgrass and we all wanted to. Hopefully, I'll make the green, but know that if somebody hit it into the water, we were gonna brag about that for a long time.
I mean, didn't all three of us, me, you, and your brother, hit TBC Sawgrass on the first one?
Mm-hmm.
I get the bragging rights. I think I put it close.
Yeah, you did, because I hit the hill and rolled back down. Luckily, it still stayed on. But no, I mean it's memories, like you said, it's memories that we definitely get to make. Speaking of that, are there any other memories you can think of, within Golf Week, that you have, or that you and me always talk about, things like that?
Getting to share nationals with HB Kim last year, that was pretty special. I think for me and you, getting to see him really thrive in that environment. Didn't he shoot 10 under with that first round?
It was close.
Oh.
Yeah, or the second round, he went
Was nuts.
63.
That's crazy to see a guy show up who took so much time off in golf and is thriving and really getting to. I mean, he's teaching me and you things that we didn't know about in golf.
Right.
Helping. I mean, I feel like I'm struggling in my golf game right now, and having somebody like him kind of mentor, help us out, and be there around. That's been huge. But that was one of my favorite memories last year, is getting to watch and see him kind of thrive in that atmosphere. Your brother, seeing him play recently, shooting some really good golf. You starting to move up in flights. That's fun. I mean, I like joking around and giving you a hard time, but I mean, getting to see some of the guys that we brought up, especially some of the newer members, JC Ovias, getting to see him move up in place from D flight to B flight.
Right.
Just some of these guys that we've brought in the last few years that have grown with your tour has definitely been one of my favorite things to see with Golf Week.
Yeah, I can completely agree. I get the privilege of seeing all 100 plus members get better, and encourage them to keep playing, or they feel like they're struggling, get them in the right flight so they can at least build that confidence back up, because it is tournament golf, but at the end of the day, it's something that we need to enjoy. And like you mentioned earlier, it's a release for some people that we might not even know about.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's exactly what I'm trying to do with my little organization with the Veteran Golfers Association. It's to introduce this game to veterans that, some of them may be timid about trying to play a flighted golf tournament. They don't understand that, it isn't our goal to put you playing against a guy that is a champ flighter like HB Kim. It's to put you in a flight that is going to be best for you. That's going to help you learn the rules of the game, enjoy it, and play it at your pace. Play it, and just kind of what we me and you've been talking about this whole time. Make friends, enjoy that camaraderie, and enjoy what it is about golf that we all tend to love. It's a game that you'll never master. It's a game that'll just beat you down, but enjoy it with friends. It's good exercise, and it's just going to get you out there.
Yeah, definitely. And when you're playing with people that are the same skill level as you, it'll help ease that tension.
Oh, definitely.
You're not going to be the only one that's going to miss putts or shank a shot or whatever it may be.
Stop that drive. Oh man, I did this weekend.
You and me both.
Oh.
You and me both. Well, Billy, I appreciate you spending some time with us. Thank you again for your service that you did. Can't wait to go on our trip in 30 days now?
And we're pushing 30 days. I'm excited, man. It's going to be a real good time. And we'll get your brother involved and get the gambling and the betting going and just enjoy it.
I'm going to start saving my quarters for that. A whole pocket full of change you're going to hear while you're trying to swing.
Oh, man. That sounds about right with you. And then your little toothpick putter that you got.
Putter's money. The putter is money. But all right, Billy, I appreciate you. You have a good one. We'll see you at the next one.
Not a problem, buddy. Thank you.
Our next guest on this special episode, we have Steve Sundberg. He's been a member for Golf Week since 2021. It's his third season. Steve, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate you having me, man.
No problem. Just real quick, I've kind of ran this down with my other guests, but in case you didn't know, you've had 23 rounds played with Golf Week. And your lowest round,
Oh, wow.
do you know what your lowest round might be?
I think it was a 72 at Lone Star.
That's correct. On
Yeah.
2021, your first season. So yeah, so I mean, like I told you, off air, uh, this is a special episode for all our veterans for Memorial Day. And I just wanted to, have a conversation with you, kind of figure out what branch you were in, rank, how many years you served. I'm really just going to give you the floor and let you have at it. So go ahead.
Okay, so my military story, real I don't know if it's unique, but I feel like it's pretty unique. I started off after high school. I went to college, a couple different colleges, and it just didn't work out. Even though, like, my parents were very supportive, they really wanted me to pursue higher education of some sort. But college just wasn't in the cards for me. So I started working. I worked until I was 20, almost turning 21, and I realized that wasn't the route for me either. I tried various jobs, and I had some pretty good ones. And I'm from Minnesota, and I wasn't really hanging out with the best people in general. So I was approached by a recruiter at one point, and he asked me what I enjoyed doing, and I told him I enjoy golfing. And he goes, "Well, did you know that the Army has a golf team?" I said, "No, I've got no idea. I had no idea that they do." And he goes, "If you join the Army, you can try out for the golf team." I was like, "Okay." He brought me out golfing a couple times and talked me into it. So I initially signed up for 4 years as a refueler. I didn't know anything about the military at the time. I didn't have any family that served. And he basically said, "Here, you can choose whatever job you want. This one just happens to have a pretty good sign-on bonus." I was like, "I need the money. Let's do it." So a month later, I ship off. I go to basic training, do all the training that I need, get to my first duty station. And this is in the fall of 2002 through the spring of 2003. So pretty early in the invasion of Iraq, the Afghanistan war. So everybody was deployed. My whole unit was gone. So I got to my first duty station. I was there for about 2 months before they shipped me off. I deployed. I came back and had already gotten orders to deploy again, but I had a year between the two deployments. So I worked on my golf game. I was 22 by this point. Worked on my golf game, got down to about a 3 or 4 handicap. And the goal was to try out for the All-Army golf team. Well, little did I know, it's very political. So long story short, I didn't get to try out for the All-Army golf team. I went home instead and shot one of the rounds of my life. And this is kind of the story that, like, the Army perpetually gave me bad scenarios, but I made the best of it. So I went home, shot the round of my life. I shot a 68 at my home course. In fact, I was 5 under going into the 17th hole and missed a 3-footer for par. That was my first bogey of the day. But I was pretty discouraged. But anyway, it worked out. I was gonna get out and pursue college because that was kind of my thing. I was finally matured. I figured college was the right choice, and I was pretty close to getting out. And then I got married. We decided to have a kid, and that changed my perspective. And I realized how well the Army treated me and my family as far as benefits, pay, things like that. Even though I was only a specialist or a sergeant at the time,
Right.
I felt like the Army did me right, other than the whole I couldn't try out for the All Army golf team. So I changed jobs. I became a Chinook crew chief. I did that for about 12 years and just really fell in love with the aviation side of the Army. So I decided to become a pilot, put in my packet a few different times, and eventually got picked up in 2014. And I kind of just finished off my career as a pilot. So I crewed on the Chinook, flew Blackhawks, and that's how I spent the last 6 years of my career, was flying on the Blackhawks. And eventually, 20 years went by, and now I've got the benefits of the retirement and some VA disability to take care of me. And now I get to kind of take it easy, have some fun, and be picky on what I do for work, and I don't have to slave away to make a buck. But to go back to the how I heard about the Golfweek tour and why I joined, I was actually golfing at Butterfield over COVID, and one of the guys that I got paired up with was part of the tour. His name was Bill Blackford. I don't think he's on the tour this year, but he played my first 2 years. He was on the tour, and he introduced me to it. He's like, "Hey, it's a lot of fun. You should join." I was like, "All right." So I joined, played a couple of tournaments, really fell in love with it. It's a great community. It's a fun group of people, and you really kind of become a second family, in my opinion. Probably my favorite tournament. Oh, sorry, got the dogs barking upstairs. Probably my favorite tournament. Well, anticipated favorite tournament was my first tournament at Red Hawk. And that ended up being probably one of the worst golf conditions that I've ever golfed in. I'm from Minnesota. I've played in some cold weather. I've been snowed on before. And this was one of the worst. I've very rarely felt like quitting a round of golf, but this was one of the tournaments I felt like quitting. That was the 2021 Red Hawk tournament. So if anybody's played in that one, they know 30 to 40 mile an hour winds and probably less than 40 degrees outside the whole day.
Oh yeah, it was
both days.
It was cold, and we had half the field was from Arizona, which was strange because they brought the cold from Arizona. I don't know, but it
was ridiculous.
It was a challenge and it was a 2-day too, so it was a bigger challenge.
Yeah, and probably one of my favorite memories was playing the first Ryder Cup event. I got paired with Amit, and him and I, like, our games just match up perfectly together. And I'd say that was probably one of my most fun memories, was that first Ryder Cup event that was at Picacho a couple years ago. Yeah, that was a good time. And we took home the trophy, which made it even sweeter.
It always does. We're going to have to take it back this year. We're going to play back at home, so we'll have a better chance, and hopefully we can bring it back.
And I just moved to Colorado, so I'm not going to be playing in the regular events, but I'm probably going to get out to the regional at TPC Scottsdale. I'd like to get out to that one. But I don't know how many more events this season I'm going to be able to play, just because the work schedule is a little bit tight, and my time spent in El Paso is going to be with family instead of golfing, unfortunately.
No, I mean, we, like you said, when you have Golfweek events, you meet a lot of new people. You get to become really good friends. So I feel like you and me, last couple of years have gotten to know each other pretty well.
Really well.
So it's going to be sad not to have you at the events, but we know you're doing great things over there in Colorado. So keep doing what you're doing. But
yeah, doing my best. You know what I'm saying?
now you mentioned, you used to fly Blackhawks. How was that experience like? Because I know growing up, I wanted to fly fighter jets, and that ended up not being in the cards, but having somebody else that was a pilot, how were those experiences?
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you. Growing up, I didn't fly commercially very often. I think I rode in my first airplane when I was probably 14 or 15 years old, and I never really had an interest in flying or anything like that. But honestly, the Army is what kind of introduced me to the aviation world, and the people in the community is what really helped me gravitate towards becoming a pilot. And honestly, the mentors that I met along the way, they really encouraged me to pursue it. And once I got into crewing on the helicopters, it was like, yeah, I really want to fly these things. And then I got the opportunity, and it was really a dream come true. And it was a perfect way to finish off my career, to be honest with you.
Nice. Well, did you just fly in states, or were you flying elsewhere as well?
No, so my total combat resume is I've had 3 combat tours in Iraq and 1 combat tour in Afghanistan. So one of my tours in Iraq, I crewed on the Chinook. I have about 700 hours crewing in Iraq, and then when I got to Fort Bliss, so El Paso, I immediately deployed, and I flew about 100 hours as a pilot in Afghanistan, and that was a pretty interesting experience. I really enjoyed it.
That's cool. And I mean, like we've been saying, thank you for your service. I'm pretty sure you hear it all the time. But
Yeah.
I mean, these stories are cool to
Venmo
hear.
is the best way to thank me for my service. Just kidding. I'm not one of those.
I saw a post earlier today, and somebody had that says, "Thank you for your service," and he puts up his Venmo account.
Right. Yep. Yeah. I've seen it a couple times. It's pretty funny.
But no, man. I mean, I appreciate spending some time with us. Again, thank you for everything you've done. Hopefully, we get to see you out here, even if it is for a fun round. But I know with you
Yeah.
moving to Colorado and back, time is limited.
Yeah. It's only an 8.5 hour drive, so I might be able to make it back for some events. I'm just not 100% sure on which ones I'll be able to make it back for. We'll have to see what the calendar looks like.
Right. Remember, we do go to Albuquerque too.
Yeah, I was thinking about that one. If anything, I think that might be one of them that I end up making it
Right.
to.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of our tour as well. Hopefully, you'll visit the Colorado tours up there.
Yeah,
Just
definitely.
remember where your true roots are.
Right, of course. And from everybody on the tour, I think I speak for most people. Your work doesn't go unnoticed, Chris, and we really do appreciate all the things you do in the background to make this tour a success.
I appreciate that. That means a lot.
Yeah.
Well, you have a good one, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care, Chris.
This guest we've had on a couple of times already. You all may know him from his great round he had at Nationals on 2022. So we want to bring in HB Kim. HB, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good to talk to you. I know we saw each other this weekend. You had a good round this weekend. Got to take the family up to the mountains, which is a nice little vacation.
Very.
And now back to work.
Back to work is right.
So like we talked before, we're doing this special episode for our members that have served or are serving. I know you have, but just before we get to that real quick, I don't know if you obviously been with the tour for your second season this year. You played 20 rounds. For the listeners, his lowest round was 63 last year at Hampton Hall National Championship. But he also had 2 67s from the pro tee boxes at TPC Scottsdale. So
Yes.
HB can ball if you're gonna say it lightly like that.
Appreciate
but HB,
it.
I mean, before you even joined us, you served in the military.
I did.
So I'm gonna go ahead and let you have the next time, the next 5-10 minutes that you like.
Yeah.
Let us know, how your military time went, what you did while you were there, how long you were there, and The floor is yours, my friend.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on once again. Yes, I did serve in the Army. I was in the Army for just a little over 5 years. I was stationed went to basic training in Fort Knox, Kentucky. I trained as a reconnaissance scout, also known as a cavalry scout. From then on, I went to Germany for my first deployment right out of basic, and that was in Afghanistan. We were at Kunduz, which is northern part of Afghanistan, and we mainly defended the combat operation post, and as well as did a lot of patrols. So as a scout, our work revolves around reconnaissance, intelligence, and surveillance gathering. We are, quote unquote, the eyes and ears of the battlefield, and that's what the Army had fashioned the statement for us, and it definitely was that for sure. Did a lot of security patrols. We gathered a lot of intel on our enemy, the disposition, the climate, anything and everything that you can muster up on the terrain, the people. We did that. We found out what our commanders needed to know in order to make the next move. So it was a pretty important role as far as that goes. Basically planning the main battle element to move up.
Right.
It was hard work. We were in small teams most of the time, a lot of patrolling, a lot of airdrops, a lot of watching. And we also did a lot of route clearance. Definitely got blown up a few times. Wasn't the best feeling in the world, but it is what it is. Comes with the job. We were in enemy territory. From there, I did a 9-month deployment with them. And this was with the 170th Infantry Brigade, which no longer exists. I went to Fort Bragg after that and joined Bravo Troop 138 Cav. And that was the best experience I've had in a long time. We did so many fun things outside of the military. And we had a great deployment to Kosovo, which was mainly security mission. We were there for multinational forces and just to help keep the presence in the area. Kosovo was very welcoming with us. I felt no threat. It was a great time. Drank a lot of coffee and learned a lot about the culture, traveled to different parts of Central Europe, Macedonia and Greece, and met a lot of cool people out there. From there, I went into or got stationed here at Fort Bliss, and did I think just 2 years, and decided not to continue. I wanted to pursue something else, and that's how I stayed here and ended up here. I love it here. I met my wife here, and I'm happy here.
So how long were you in the Army?
Just a little over 5 years. 5 years, I think 5 years, 9 months.
Okay. And now you're retired since when?
I got out in 2016.
Okay. So close to 5 years.
Yeah.
So now, what you do now, was that because of what you did in the military, or was that just something that you pursued afterwards?
This is something I pursued afterwards. So right now I'm a pediatric nurse. I work at the El Paso Children's Hospital. I'm very proud to be here. I have an amazing team here. We do great work. The doctors here do great work. How I ended up as a nurse was after military, I actually wanted to be a firefighter.
Okay.
I was in the candidate program with the Los Angeles Fire Department for about a year. It's a very long process with them. However, they're very welcoming to help train you, as the process continues, just to keep you up to date, fresh. That way you're not totally new when your date comes for training. I did a lot of ride-alongs with a couple EMS ambulance companies out there, as well as LAFD. And And then, you know what struck me was, although first response is super important, absolutely important, it wasn't the type of care that I envisioned myself doing. And also something I don't think I could sustain in 20 years.
Okay.
I want to be a, 68-year-old man still in the fire department. So
I got you.
I
Yeah.
needed to find something that was going to be a little bit easier on the bones. So a buddy of mine had asked me, hey, you want to come shadow with me for a little bit? He's like, I'm a nurse. And he goes, yeah, sure. And as soon as I did that for the day, that was it for me. I was like, this is what I want to do. So it was
Nice.
it's a nice experience, a great experience, and I'm doing it now.
That's awesome. I mean,
Yeah,
I've been to the children's hospital here in town, and staff is always great. So
awesome. I'm glad you had a great experience. Good.
yeah, I mean, as parents taking their kids there, it's nerve wracking every which way.
Yes.
So however calm the staff can be and friendly, it makes things a whole lot better.
And you know what? It helps that almost all the nurses and doctors that I know are parents. So they completely understand how a patient or their parents can feel.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, we've talked before in episodes, you played golf a lot before the military, then you joined the military, and you've been picking it up since you gotten out.
Yes.
But how did you find out about the Golfweek tour? Just, a little bit about that.
I actually saw a flyer, and Chris over at Red Hawk had mentioned it to me as well. So I became very interested. I hadn't had a lot of practice at the time, so I kind of wanted to just get a couple more reps in me. And you know what? I said, well, it doesn't matter what flight I end up. I just want to play, have fun, and meet people who love golf too. So, and that's what I did. So here we are.
Cool. I mean, have you had any great courses? I know this is only your second year, but I know you've traveled a couple of times with us. Any courses that maybe stand out to you from nationals or regional events?
Nationals. So obviously the TPC Scottsdale course. I've played that before, but never in the capacity of a tournament. So this was great experience last year with regionals. Captain Hall hosted us as well for nationals. Great course, nice greens. Nothing to complain about there. And then just this past weekend, we had Rainmakers and Links. I've never been to Rio, so that was so much fun, Chris. Great event, great course. It hailed on us for like one hole, but it, all that just melted in 15 minutes, and the play continues, and it was great. Beautiful. It was beautiful.
Yeah, Rainmakers is top-notch course. For some reason, every time we go, I mean, he wasn't joking. Every time we go, weather comes out of nowhere. But gonna plan to do that 1-2 days probably, or either have that on the last day, because I think it'll bring a challenge for whoever's gonna win that event.
Absolutely, yeah. That's definitely the one that will test people for sure.
Definitely. Now, last question. And we can kind of expand this since this is only your second season. But any big golf memory that you may have while you've played this sport?
Big golf memory? You mean just like throughout my whole golf experience?
Sure.
In general?
Yeah, sure.
Big golf memory for me was 2000. It was a long time ago. I played in Junior World Golf Championships in Torrey Pines. It was the last time my dad got to see me play.
It's all right. Take your time. I understand, man. I've been there, and I think the last time I got to play with my father was the last time I beat him, and it's one of those where you want to take it, I finally got you, but at the same time, deep down that it's not 100% you're playing him. So I completely understand.
So that was my big memory right there. I won't forget. And I actually got a hole in one, and he got to see that too. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, that was good.
Those are good memories, and those are things that'll keep you going in the sport. Because I know, we'll probably have a big Father's Day episode, and you'll catch me crying on on the podcast. But fathers are the ones that are mainly the ones that get kids into the sport. So
Yeah, you sure did.
Those memories are going to be the biggest ones.
Yes, they are. And that was a big one for me, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I didn't mean to get you crying. I
No, it's all good,
that.
man. It's all good. It was a good one for me. So I'm happy to share that. Happy to share it.
Well, thank you for spending some time with us. Thank you for your service you did.
No worries. Thank you.
It's a sacrifice that you guys, you military guys make for us, and we can't thank you enough for what you do.
Appreciate it, man. And you'll hear all of us say that it was an honor for us to do that, to serve our country.
Definitely. All right, HB. Well, you get home to your family. I know that they're probably waiting for you from work, and you have a good one. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. You have a good one.
You're welcome, buddy. Bye-bye.
Okay, we're going to jump over to the Indianapolis tour, and let's welcome in Dean Weathers from Indianapolis. Dean, welcome, bud.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Thank you again for being able to spend some time with us. Let's first start with you're an F-16 pilot. Is that correct?
I am.
That's awesome. Tell us a little bit about your military background and being a fighter pilot.
Yeah, but went in the Air Force and started pilot training in '84 after college. I'd always wanted to fly F-16s when they first came out. When I saw them in '72, and I was, I think, 12 at the time, and so I kind of took the path that I always kind of wanted to do that, and went through, got accepted through ROTC through Indiana University. Took the program there, got the degree, got commissioned as an officer, and then went pilot training, got a pilot slot. Went through pilot training, got through the top 10% of class. So normally, it's merit based. So based upon your ranking, you kind of get what they take the top guy and say, okay, here are the jets available. Which one you want. And so I was fortunate enough to get an F-16. Then went through Legion fighter training, and then went to Luke to do F-16 training. And then from there went to Germany, spent my time in Germany, Middle East, Africa, and so forth, flying F-16s. Best job in the world, best jet in the world.
So how much time do you spend in actual training?
Pretty much every day we did some type of training missions. Once it became operational. And we did air-to-air and air-to-ground missions. So we, do multiple, we do 2v2, 4v4. Some cases we do multi-package launches to hit a target or airstrip. And, it's all practice munitions and so forth, but your training is if you're actually going to fight.
Right.
I pretty much fought against, trained against all free world fighters. Also trained against some Russian fighters as well, just kind of see how the jet would do against those and so forth. And like I said, it was the best jet in the world, where we do both air-to-air, air-to-ground, and really enjoyed the missions that we did. So it's, definitely one of the best jobs I've ever had.
So how long were you in the Air Force and flying?
Yeah, I was in for 9 years. I kind of, I was up for my majors board, and I ended up getting out as a captain, but I was up for majors board and decided to get out. I'd like to stay. I would have, now looking back, would like to stay in, but, I still did, 9 years in the Air Force, loved the military, especially back in the 80s when I was in. Now nice thing too is, my son is in the Air Force and now he's flying F-16. So we're one of the few father sons who've actually flown F-16. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
To be able to have that bond, we talk a lot about in golf, how, we get involved in golf because of our fathers.
Yeah.
And now, it's kind of the same thing with and really it's a lot with military families. It's the same thing as well.
Yes, it is.
So let's talk about the tour a little bit. You've been playing on tour for about 3 years. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I started on the senior tour, I guess 5 years ago. And then, I thought, well, let me try the amateur tour as well to see because they played some of the courses I like to play here in Indy. So I said, well, let me play that. And before I was playing in the Indiana, Kentucky, just because Indianapolis did not have a senior tour, so I had to travel to southern Indiana a lot. And then, Mal started the Indianapolis senior tour this year, so I switched to Indianapolis. But I do end up playing both tours. I kind of focus on the amateur side. So if there's a senior and a amateur side on the same day, I'll do the amateur side.
Okay. So did you do both national championships, both the senior and the amateur?
I did last year. Yeah. And I plan on doing this year too. We're trying to qualify in the top 10. So, but yeah, I enjoy, my wife loves Hilton Head. I like Hilton Head. So we like going to national.
Yeah.
So we'll spend 2 weeks down there. Not a problem.
Well, I don't want to rub it in, but I'm pretty much based out of Hilton Head. So I live there pretty much all year. So it's
nice.
It is pretty nice. I'm actually in Pennsylvania right now visiting grandkids. So, that's about the only time that we leave is when we come up to Pennsylvania. So, but yeah, Hilton Head is great. Did you ever get a chance to do the icebreakers in Sea Pines?
I did. I've done it for the last couple of years now. So, it's nice getting, out of Indiana weather for that January. So yeah, I do enjoy playing, those are two of my favorite courses when you play Robert Trent Jones and obviously Harbor Town. Love those two courses. So,
yeah.
I plan on playing that every year if I can.
Well, you may want to just go ahead and move down there. I don't know if you got grandkids up there or kids up there, but I'm trying to get my kids to move down that way because it's just so much nicer.
Yeah. It's my wife says the only one that's keeping us from moving down there is me. So she's always looking, houses in that area and so forth. So, it wouldn't take much to say, okay, let's go. Because I do hate Indiana winters.
Yeah, I can't do it in Pennsylvania. That's we used to live up here and when we went down, I just all it really takes is one winter away.
Yeah,
and you just I'm never doing that again. So
I know.
But anyway, well, Dean, thank you so much for your service. I do appreciate it. And thank you for your family and your son's service as well. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, and I wish you the best of luck the rest of the year. And I'll see you in October.
That sounds good. Thanks so much. Thanks, Tim.
All right, Dean. Take care, bud.
Okay.
All right, so now we're going to head down to Mississippi and talk to Rich Revels from the Mississippi Tour. Rich, welcome.
How are you, Tim?
Doing great. Thanks for taking some time with us today. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your military service?
Well, I enlisted in the Navy in 1992, retired in November of 2016. I was a combat medic during my time in the Navy, so I spent most of the time with the Marines. Didn't really spend any much time on the ships because I did my seat time with the Marines, but I enjoyed 24 years and did my time.
Yeah, and I know you you're at the Mississippi Tour now, and I've known you from back, probably 5 or 6 years ago when you were playing in the Upstate and in Charlotte tours. And I remember at the time you had just retired and had started playing golf again. As I was looking through some of your scores, I saw that you shot your lowest score ever in a tournament round just a couple weeks ago. You shot 76 at
Beaupré.
Beaupré, yeah, that's pretty awesome. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, it was the lowest score of the whole tournament. Kind of almost got disqualified, but based on all my other scores, there was like, okay, he just had a great day.
Yeah, and I'm on the handicap committee, and I saw that, and that's actually how I realized that you were down there in Mississippi.
It's actually a funny story because I actually shot 6 over on the front 9, and as I'm teeing off on number 10, a hummingbird landed on the shaft of my golf club and was like, it was just barking at me, and then stayed there for about a few seconds and flew away. And then after that, I fell asleep. I reeled off about 3 birdies in a row, and I think I finished with 5 birdies on the back 9.
Man, that's awesome.
So it was just a really funny story.
That's great. And you had. Yeah, again, that's your lowest score ever. I saw, you've had a couple 78s, a couple 79s.
Right.
But having a 76, being 4 over, that's a heck of a job right there.
Yeah, I had went back down to the B flight because I stopped playing for about 6 months when we moved here because I had to get my land all squared away. But I went back to playing, and I knew I would eventually be back in the A flight, but
Right.
didn't expect to be that soon. But I just enjoy playing. So
Yeah. So what are some other memorable moments you've had on playing on the tour?
the most memorable ones is the first time that I know, Josh Calhoun got me into playing on the amateur tour. And the first tournament I played in was at Edgewater, and I shot a 78 there. And I had started in the B flight, and it was just happened to be a good round. And I spent one day in the B flight, and then I went to A flight. Then here I played bad enough last year that I got to the B flight, and then I went back up after this past tournament. So that would be my most memorable. Was my first tournament.
First tournament shooting 78 and getting moved. That's it's actually pretty good. But like I said, you've only had a couple of those. I think maybe it's a total maybe 5 or 6 rounds of your entire history in the 70s.
Right.
So I mean it's whenever you can shoot the 70s, that's a good day.
Yeah, definitely.
So what are your favorite courses down there in Mississippi?
I like,
besides Beaupre, obviously.
Yeah, that's my new favorite. But it was really odd because I went to Beaupre because I needed the points, and it was 3 hours away, and I was kind of him and hawing whether I was going to go or not because it was so far away, and I ended up going anyway. But my favorite course down here is Granbury. It's the Jack Nicklaus course.
Okay.
I didn't play well on it because it's raining, and no excuses, but I can't play in the rain. So, but I love the course.
Yeah, when you live down south, I'm actually based out of Hilton Head now, and I'm running the Atlanta tour,
Right.
And I don't play nearly as much golf as I used to, but you live down south, you play enough. When it rains, I just don't play. I'm done. I'll wait till it's nice outside, or if it's cold, I don't play.
Yeah, I'm trying to actually get in. I'm actually trying to actually go to a national championship, so I'm trying to do everything I can to get the points. So.
Well, do what you can, and I'd be happy to see you in Hilton Head in October.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's my plan.
All right, my friend. Well, it's good talking to you, good catching up, and thank you so much for your service. You know how much I appreciate it.
Sure.
And good luck the rest of the year, and hopefully see you in October.
Yeah, man. Good to see you again. Thank you.
So now we're going to head out to New Jersey and speak with Daniel Kennelly of the New Jersey Tour. Daniel, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Tim. Appreciate it.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your military service? I know you're retired Army. What was your rank? What was your job? What were some places you were stationed?
Yeah. So I did 22 years total. I started actually out of the New York Army National Guard in 91 to 93. I was military police. I decided to go active duty. I thought it was going to be for 3 years and had some great assignments and great experiences. So I reached my 10-year mark. They offered me to go to Germany, gave me $18,000 bonus, and so off I went. So I actually did 11 years in Germany, which was pretty awesome. I also did 4 years in Japan, just outside of Tokyo. I deployed to Iraq twice in 2003 and in 2006. For me, Army life was a great time. I retired as a sergeant first class, learned a lot, got a lot of education out of it, used it to my advantage, took advantage of the GI Bill for my college after I got out. So it's been a great experience.
That's awesome. Talk about the GI Bill. But I don't know exactly how old you are, but I think you and I are probably the same age. I mean, if you went in 91, I went in 86 and got out in 89.
Sure.
The GI Bill for me was really one of the main drivers to get me to enlist.
Yeah,
because I was
same with me.
Not that I was a knucklehead. I'm still a knucklehead. But, back.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Back when you're 18 years old and you know everything, you don't necessarily take certain things as seriously as you should. But
absolutely.
But again, that GI Bill was a big driver, and I know, I personally know a ton of people that took advantage of that.
It's a great opportunity. It's unfortunate a lot of people don't take advantage of it. That could, and so whether it's vocational or college, traditional college or university, but it's a really good program.
And my brother, he's retired military, and they let him use his benefits for his kids, which
Correct.
I didn't know that you could do that.
Yep. Yeah.
So
can be transferred. Yep. Even to your spouse too. so it can't be transferred. So yeah.
Well, I was selfish. I just used mine for me. So
you and me both. Absolutely. Yeah.
So what are some of your best memories from serving?
Well, I mean, I have. So, I mean, just for me, the vast majority of my career was overseas. Just, like I said, I was just outside of Tokyo for 4 years, which was just an incredible experience. Understanding and learning that culture. But I would say Germany overall. I mean, I was there. That was my longest stint in one spot, 11 years. Being able to travel Europe, so easy. Germany is like right in the heart of Europe, and it's so easy. Either jump in your car and you can, go ski in Zermatt, Switzerland in like 5 hours, or, I lived an hour and a half from Prague. You'd be in Salzburg, Austria in 3 hours. Amsterdam, whatever you wanted. So it was, a really great experience. And fortunately for me, because I was continuity for the units that I was in there and I was there for so long, I was fortunate enough to get to be able to do a lot of things that, normally you probably wouldn't get to do because you're getting ready to move in 3 or 4 years. Right. So,
right.
It was, so I wore a lot of hats, gained a lot of experience in various different things. I managed the military working dog program that was for all of Europe, whether, for dignitaries coming in, from the president on down, our teams would, and then we also self-deployed them as well as individual deployers to theaters as Iraq or Afghanistan. So monitored all that. Physical security. I was the for our battalion size. I was the program coordinator for our physical security program. So just wore a lot of hats. It was I enjoyed it. The operations side of it. So the last 11 years, I was a senior NCO, so I didn't work the law enforcement part of it as much as the the operations and the bigger picture, which was pretty awesome.
So you're the third person I've interviewed that was stationed in Germany, and all I've heard is great things about it. I never been there, was never there. And what Dan from DC said, he spent a lot of time traveling just like you did to Switzerland, to France, to all over Europe. And I just wonder if you were riding around in a green VW Bug with him, because he said he bought a VW Bug for cheap. It was a piece of crap, but that's how they traveled around.
No, I actually have a 2005 330ci BMW that I bought, brand new. Ironically, it's U.S. spec, so it's made in South Carolina and then shipped to Germany. But man, that was fun to drive over there on the Autobahn, which is what a lot of people think the Autobahn is like one road, but it's actually just the word for freeway or highway, so it's a whole system, right? But to be able to drive 130, 140 miles an hour, and it's bizarre. You're doing that fast and cars are still passing, but it's a lot of fun.
Well, that's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about golf.
Sure.
We just started the 2023 season, and you started off with 3 wins. You just got a win, I believe it was yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday.
So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So grinding it out. So first and foremost, I golfed as a kid, and I really didn't golf when I was in the military. And then I was married at the time when I retired, and we moved to Rhode Island for my ex-wife's career. And I went out on an outing with a gentleman, and I picked up the bug. And since 2014, I started golfing, but we were moving around, and so when I got here to New Jersey, I go out and play and stuff. But I came across Golfweek and thought, well, give it a whirl. And where it's something structured, right? And I just I started 2 years ago. And I really enjoy the 3 reasons that I joined is, the competitiveness, it's organized, you get to play a lot of courses that you wouldn't normally get to play. And then I'm meeting new people, right? I've made a lot of great friends, in doing so. And so, yesterday's, we played Jack Frost in the Poconos. I've played that course a few times. The pin placement yesterday was very challenging. You can go in and look at the scores. Even the A players were, I'm in the C flight, but the A players were, I think the winner was like +18. So it was, pin placements were tough. The greens were challenging, but all in all, it was a great course. We grinded it out, and I was lucky enough that I played better than some other ones. So
That's awesome. And you also won at Seaview. That I played up the Jack Frost course, but I've never played the Seaview courses. What are they like?
So Seaview is pretty cool. They have two courses. There's the Pines, which is more traditional, tree lined and such. And then across the street, it's called the Bay course, which is more of a link style. And they actually host the LPGA ShopRite Tour there each year at the Bay course. But I didn't play the one that I won first, or the second one was at Seaview, the Pines course. So again, it was so ironically, the first one I won in it's called LBI National. That was I won that in a playoff, and then the Pines course also was in a playoff. So the first two wins were a win in a playoff. So I guess the pressure didn't hold too much for me. So it was but it was fine. It was both tracks are really good. Every course that we've played, I've only played the three here. I didn't play one of the I didn't play Bay, and I didn't play Canoebrook that they had, but all the tracks so far are spectacular courses. I mean, they're really high end. So. That's awesome. Do you have any other favorite courses that the tour plays that may be coming up this year? Yeah, so we play Trump National in Philadelphia. I actually won that one last year, so I'm looking forward to it again this year. Again, it's a very, very challenging course. And I think top of my head, that'd probably be the biggest one is Trump National in Philly. So that's yeah. And you looking forward to nationals again this year? Absolutely, yeah. And I've gone down the last 2 years. The first year, I think I finished top 20 or top 25, something like that, 22nd spot. But I did get a skins, a super skin, so that paid for the whole trip. That was pretty awesome. Last year, I started out, first 2 rounds were good. The third round, I dropped the ball, but it's still a good time. Like you say, having that opportunity to meet people from across the country. And what I like about, you're playing with, with the flights, right? And that standard of playing with the same caliber of players. So you never know what can happen. You never know where you're going to end up. It's, versus, when you go out, if you go out just as a single or whatever, and you're pairing up with whomever at whatever course, can be a little intimidating for some people, right? So it's, right. It's always good to play within, those like-minded players. And then, in nationals, when you get that skins envelope the next morning and open it up and there's all that cash in it, that's also a pretty good feeling. Yeah, it was like $600 and some odd dollars. It was great. That's pretty good. Absolutely. Well, Dan, thanks so much for joining us. Thank you for your service, and thank your family for their service as well. I really do appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see you soon. My pleasure, Tim. Thanks for the opportunity, and appreciate what you do, and thanks for your service. All right, bud. Take care. You bet. So now we're going to move on to the New York Upstate Tour and welcome Salem Jacobson. Salem, welcome.
Hi, Tim. How you doing?
Awesome. Thanks for taking some time and joining us here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your military service?
Yeah, so I'm I'm an Air Force captain. I've been in the military now for roughly 18 years in the United States Air Force. I was active duty back in 2005 to 2009. And then I separated active duty and I went to the New York Air Guard. And I've been doing that ever since. While I was there, I got my commission and now I'm a captain. My AFSC is a 21R3, which, if you're familiar, that's a logistics officer. And my duties, they tend to range. I mean, active duty was pretty clear. I used to run flight lines and, cargo transport, airplanes in, airplanes out, people moving in, cargo moving around. But on the guard side, it's a little more ambiguous. I still have that title, but we don't move that kind of cargo out here that often. So I tend to run into a lot of more managing people, leading people, doing, I guess, behind the scenes, sometimes contracting things for our office. And over the last 3 years, unfortunately, but fortunately, I have my health and the ability to do so. I was the New York State upstate commander running the areas around Albany area for all those vaccination moves.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
I coordinated a lot of that movement between the city and up here and out west to Syracuse and Rochester and Buffalo. And that was actually a very fulfilling career. 3 years I did that, and it was I learned a lot, met a lot of good people, and yeah, that's what I've been doing for the last 18 years on the military side.
Well, thank you. And so, I'm going to say especially, but it's not especially. I mean, just the whole idea of volunteering, for services is something that I think a lot of people take for granted. But what you talk about, helping move those vaccines, and over the last say 3 or 4 years with COVID, just thinking about how many lives that touched and saved.
Millions.
So it's incredible. So you've been on tour for 2 years now, is that correct?
Yeah, so I started last year. The upstate director here, Adam Kale, got in touch with me and said, hey, would you like to? I used to play in other tournaments. It's been about 4 years of playing tournament golf. I started NYSGA back in 2017, I believe. And I did that for 2 years, took a break. And then in 2019, I joined the Veterans Golf Association, VGA.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that was my first large-scale tournament where I played outside of New York State. And that was a lot of fun. And it just wasn't, it was competitive near the end of the year, but during the normal tournaments were a lot smaller fields. And then my friend was like, hey, do you want to join this larger group? I heard. I went down in Carolina and played them the Golfweek Amateur Tour. And I said, oh, I don't know what that is. He's like, well, there's not one up here. I'm going to bring it up to New York State. If you're interested, jump on in, and I'm going to try to see how many people I can get. I said, hey, why not? And last year was a blast.
What?
Met a lot of good people. The tournaments were a lot of fun. I really enjoy the larger fields. And then when I made my way to nationals, that was an experience to be had. A lot of good golfers there. The venues are beautiful, and the competition and the setup and everything that the tour provides to the players, I thought was pretty outstanding.
Yeah. Is there one moment that really kind of sticks out to you over the time you've been playing that is, let's just say, a favorite moment?
So I would say my favorite moment, hopefully I'll have a new one this year, but last year on the tour, I ended up shooting my lowest round. Well, my second lowest round played, but my first lowest round in an actual competition where I was driving the ball just as good as I ever have. And wedges were not that great, but I was putting lights out also. So combine those two things, I ended up getting around to the 18th hole, and I was even par. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was quite perplexed and amazed and happy. Unfortunately, I ended up topping my drive, which is funny, but I still ended up walking out of there with 2 or 3 over, I think. So I was, it still ended a good round.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I guess at 18th hole, just kind of, when you saw where you were cutting, kind of just got in your head. And
yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
that happens. That happens.
It happens. It's us amateurs.
Exactly. Well, again, thank you so much. And I'm sure Adam's also a veteran, and I guess that's why he hooked us up together. So again, thank you so much for your service. I really appreciate it, and look forward to hopefully seeing you down in National Championship.
Yeah, anytime, Tim. Thanks a lot. Thanks for this interview, and we'll see you out there.
All right, bud. Take care.
Take care.
All right, so Chris, our next guest, I just call him the Master Chief. I've known this man for probably 12 years. He's been a member of the tour in DC. We stay in contact all the time. But Chris, let's welcome Master Chief Ken Mutzaball from the Richmond tour now. Ken, welcome.
Welcome. Good to see you, Chris. Again, apparently we met, but you forgot selective amnesia down in the Nationals last year, and always good to see Tim. And I know he's got his faithful sidekick nearby, Jen, so that's a good deal.
Yeah, she's over there. For the people that can't see me, they just know she's over there.
She just monitors from afar.
Exactly.
There you go. She's like I guess in silent radio, she'd be like the ventriloquist. You can't see her, but she's there, and she's the one pulling the strings so Tim can know what to say.
Exactly.
And I appreciate
she's making me dance.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
So Ken, why don't you give us a little bit of insight on your military service?
All righty. First of all, I appreciate the interview. The military, it's to start with. When I graduated from school, I wasn't sure what I was going to do in high school. And my dad suggested that the military might be a good adventure for me or a future. So, and just to give you a little background on my dad's a World War II veteran, Army, wounded Manzio, Italy, valedictorian in his class. Of course,
Wow.
the neighbor that Mrs. Adams up the street, she graduated with my dad. She said, just tell him there was only 2 of us in the class, Tom. That was my dad's first name, and I always used to chuckle at that. My dad went to the same school that I went to he was born in what they call a Cove, C-O-V-E, Pennsylvania, which is just about 10 miles up from where I'm at, where we were raised and stuff. And my dad went to Susquehanna High School. And what was interesting, I was the only boy in my class in high school. And Mrs. Fox, Adele Fox, she had taught my dad and also had taught me very red hair. My dad had red hair and I had red hair when I was young. And she had done shorthand and typing. And my dad had set the record in both. And I had ended up setting the record in typing, but I didn't beat my dad's record in shorthand. But my dad could still type and do shorthand even at the advanced age. In fact, he spoke 5 languages, which was interesting. But anyhow, getting back to the service, one day my friend Raymond Predix, who was a year ahead of me, graduated my brother, Tom, who was also in the Navy. He had spent, I think, 6 years in the Navy and was worked in aviation and got out. And my brother Rusty later joined, and he retired as a Navy chief in administration after 20 years. But Raymond and I joined the buddy program. So I said, wow, this is kind of neat. So I'd never been on the plane, flew out to San Diego, and that's where boot camp was. I said, holy cow, this is in January. So we did boot camp, and that was interesting. I had never seen it. This is pretty regimented for me. In fact, I thought it was interesting. You had 6 pair of underwear, boxers, undershirts, everything, 6 pair of everything. You had 3 you always kept in your locker. 3, and then the other 3, 1 was on the line, 1 was in the laundry, and 1 you wore, and you rotated them bad boys out. But the other 3 had stayed in that locker. They never come out because they were folded. And my dad, who was pretty smart in mathematics, always showed us how to fold clothes. So this came pretty easy because everything was rectangles and stuff. And I said, wow, squares and rectangles, I can figure this out. Rather than just throwing it in our locker, you'd actually folded it. So that was kind of interesting. And then I learned how to use a whisk bottle as an iron. You filled it up with hot water, and that's how you ironed your clothes. So after boot camp, flew back, and I had orders to Gaeta, Italy. I didn't know what Gaeta, Italy was, but my dad knew. He was stationed in Italy during World War II. So I get over there to the 6th Fleet, and we're on the 6th Fleet flagship, the USS Little Rock. I'm like, wow. And this was a flagship of the 6th Fleet. So my first 6 months in the military, I got to watch a bullfight in Spain, watch them race through the streets of Monte Carlo. I got to shake hands and meet Princess Grace and Prince Rainier. Got to ski in the Alps. Had a cameo made for my mother in one of them. I'm trying to remember the town in right up from or down from Gaeta. That you could go and they made cameos. Went to Rome, and I thought that was a hoop because I fell asleep on the train. And of course, the Italians helped me so I could get out and stuff. And I got to see the Colosseum and got to the Leaning Tower of Pisa. I said, wow, this is unbelievable. And we went to every port you could imagine. I've been to Tunis, Africa. Since the military, I've been to almost every country in the world. We're getting ready to leave the Med because we got relieved by the Springfield. So Captain goes, yeah, we got good news, we got bad news. He comes over to the 1MC and he talks to the entire crew. He goes, the good news is we're leaving the Med. The bad news is we're heading to Vietnam. I went, what? But someone said, hey, hold on now. You got free postage. I went, well, hey, that's a game changer. And so we ended up going over, but then they said, no, there's too many missile ships. So the Newport News, we had to turn around, we had to relieve the Newport News end to be the second fleet flag, and they went over because we only had 6-inch and 5-inch guns. They had 8-inch, so they needed the heavier guns for shore bombardment. Even though our 6-inch guns would have been okay, but they said, no, we're going to switch it around, and there was a thing where they wanted no more missile ships. So I said, okay, this is pretty good. And then we eventually went back to Rhode Island. We were up there for a while, and that's where I got to see the USS Constitution and hang out there. And I mean, anywhere you could go on a ship, that's why I always like joining the military. I mean, you get to travel. I mean, some people stay in different spots, and I know my career ended up, I've been on every platform. A platform is the different type of ships. I've been on, well, the USS Little Rock, CLG-4, that's a light guided missile cruiser. I was on the USS Dixon on the West Coast. That's a submarine tender. AS-32. I was on the Bella Wood on the West Coast, also imported in San Diego. And that was an LHA, which is like an Essex-sized carrier. It's a small carrier. 800 foot is the size of a little over 800 foot, the size of the ship, and that's for amphibious landings and stuff. And you have the Marines. You have about an 800-man crew, and then when you put the Marines on board, which we could load them in a half hour, we'd have about a crew of over 3,200 people.
Jeez.
So that was kind of interesting. And I remember that's when I first got my warfare device, and I was the first person in my rating to get the warfare device, service warfare, in the Navy, and I thought that was a big distinction. And I remember one of the questions one of the division officers asked, because you had to get tested. You get tested by the chiefs, then you go to the division officers, and then the department heads, and then the XO and CO. I remember one of the questions, I thought it was funny. He goes, now, does the ship actually go down, or does the water come up? Because when we get amphibs to load out the amphibs, the well deck fills up with water. So I always thought that had to be the funniest question. Made you think for a second. Does the ship go down? Does the water come up? Come back, and I was on USS Kidd. Now, that was a unique ship because those were the 4 Iranian ships that they were going to sell. It wasn't part of the Spruance class, which was a 963. These were the Kidd class, the 993, 994, 995, and 996. And then the last of the Spruance was a 997, the Hailer. Well, what was interesting is these were the 4 ships that were going to be sold to Iran, but because when the Shah got taken out, and then we decided to cancel the sale, so we kept them. And what was interesting about these ships is on the stocks, they had sand filters in there to keep the sand from going down in throughout the ship. And each compartment on the ship had its own individual air conditioning. So I was on the Kidd class, which was the lead, and then you had the Scott, the Chandler, and the Callahan. And we ended up selling those eventually after, I think they had about 15 years of service, which to me was short-lived. But that was one of the most unique ships. That was out of Pascagoula. I was on 2 commissionings, one out of both of them in Pascagoula, the Bella Wood and the Kidd. And then I got to be on the Harry Yarnell. We were over there doing what we call squares in the Indian Ocean, and that's when we had that failed hostage attack or rescue in the Iranian desert, and we lost a helo. And it was interesting. Every day we'd go out, there'd be sand on the deck. We'd be holding sweepers. So one of the guys used to start collecting the sand. He made a little sand castle. I thought that was interesting. But some of the things we used to do on the ship, if you did those today, you'd either be arrested or whatever. And I'll go into a quick story. We were killing time on the Harry Yarnell, and we used to dress up all the new people. So we have what we call male buoy watch. There's no such thing. And we had one of the midshipmen. He's all dressed up. It's sweltering hot out there. He's dressed up in a life preserver. He's got every flotation device you can have one, plus a big bow. And they'd go, hey, you just lost the mail. And you'd look over the starboard side, and sure enough, you would see a mail pouch, an orange mail pouch floating by. And he goes, and the skipper would be on the bridge. How'd you miss that down there, midshipman? And those were actually drills. Everything was done with a purpose. And that was, then we could do a man overboard exercise and participate and see how quick our crew could, in case we had a man overboard. And I thought that was interesting. And people don't know the port and starboard. The easiest way to remember that is 4 letters in left is port. More than 5 letters, which would be right, is starboard. So everybody says, how do you know the left from your right? Well, that's how we knew it. But the other one was when we caught a sea bat. There's no such thing as a sea bat. And that's for a medical drill. And what we do is we have a box, and that box would be shaking and kind of, and the bosun mate, one of the senior bosunmates would go, everybody step back, we got a sea bat. And of course, the midshipmen, they're always anxious to see what it is. We go, stand back, stand back. So he says, let me just see. So we'd lift up the box and it'd be shaking. And as soon as he bent down, they'd whack him on the butt with a broom. And he'd turn around and say, hey, quit hitting me. Someone could get hurt. I don't want to get that close to the sea bat. You'd hit him 2 or 3 times. He'd finally maybe catch on. But what we'd do is one of our sailors then would reach his hand under there, and we had already had it staged so that it looked like he cut his hand. So now we had a medical emergency on the left port side. And then, of course, the medical team would come up and treat this individual, and he'd be using a little pump on his other side that simulate blood coming out. And then they'd have to do a tourniquet and dress him and then take him to sick bay. But everything, like I said, when we did something on the ship like that, it was set up for a purpose, and the purpose was for a drill. But of course, at other people's expense. So, and then my biggest platform was the USS Theodore Roosevelt. There, I was on board. That's when we went to Desert Storm, and we were the only nuclear carrier. And what we did in the Gulf is we formed what's called a diamond. A diamond would be the lead ship, which in this case was us for this time. We would launch, and then we'd go into the left side of the diamond, and then we'd go into the recover, then stand by, then get ready, and then keep going. And then you just rotate around, and everybody would launch their aircraft, recover them, and bring them back. That's our job. They're called sorties, and we'd be landing aircraft all day, all night. That's all you did. Launch, recover. And then, of course, bring in mail and guests and stuff like that were coming on board or being dispatched. But if you've never been launched off of carrier or landed on a carrier, that's who you stop very quickly. And when you go off a carrier, it looks like, and pardon my language, it looks like your butt's trying to grab holes in that seat because that plane goes down. And then it starts digging furrows into the water, and then it takes back off again. But it's actually going, it just drops down. But it gets everybody hopping if you've never gone off on a carrier. That's a hoot. And then some of my best shore assignments, I was on recruiting duty in Philadelphia, in New York City. That was the best. I was stationed at Fort Hamilton. And the quick story with that is I was stationed with Earl Woods, Tiger's dad. He was there in Fort Hamilton. And so I got to meet him. And then I got to meet Tiger's military starter at Congressional when he had his tournament there. And the captain, I'm trying to remember, a captain with vertical launching system. We flew out to Port Hueneme, and Tiger, we went up. He was good friends with Tiger's dad too, Earl, our captain, our 06. And I remember we went into the hotel. Tiger comes out in his underwear. Mr. Woods, Earl goes, "You're not embarrassed about this?" I said, "Oh, please. I've seen worse on the ship." But no, Tiger was very gracious and talked to us and stuff. And his mother, very nice lady. And he runs a great foundation. But with recruiting duty, that really helped me, especially for up there in New York, Philadelphia, and Harrisburg in my hometown. And then probably the best duty station I've ever had was defense mapping. That's out of Brookmont, Maryland. I think it was 20% or 30% of our force was deaf. So we had to go to Gallaudet, learn sign, and all the instructors were deaf. So that was interesting learning that. And the deaf people, they were funny. They would be talkies, and they go, yeah, this is a talkies. We'd be in the car going back and forth, and everybody'd be signing and stuff. And I always thought that was interesting. And then they sent us to, from there, to get us trained, you went to the University of Maryland for paramedic and first responder. And I rode out of Glen Echo. And when I was at defense mapping, I zoomed up. I mean, I made it all the way up to E8. I mean, and then as soon as I left there, I went on the ship and made E9 right off the bat. But with defense mapping, not only my associate and bachelor's, I got an MPA, which is personnel administration through Golden Gate. I got an MBA, which is through Marymount University. And then later on, I went ahead and went to Johns Hopkins for a systems engineering master's. I went to the Naval War College, one of the first master chiefs to go to the War College. And with there, you can pursue, and when you finished, you got yourself a political science degree. And then with defense mapping, we had 11 geographical separated units throughout the world. So I got to travel. We went to Naples. We went to Mainz Castell, Germany. We went to Japan. I said, oh, this just doesn't get any better than this. Holy mackerel. So, I mean, to me, that's what the military is about. With traveling, and not only that, but the friends you meet. And Tim, I think you can relate to this. When you meet somebody and then talk to them, if it's been a friend of yours, I don't care if you've been going for 10 years, you pick up right where you left off, and that friendship remains the same.
Well, it sounds like you had a very long career. How long were you in the service?
I was in for a long time. I'm still what they call a uniform presence. When they need something, I'll go back and for instance, when I was over in Spain, I'll be in uniform, and I'll do what they call from the deck plate. The deck plate is on the ship. That's what they call from the ground surface. In other words, you have to write a report. It's got to be unbiased. You can't be intimidated. And my report went to the CNO, Chief of Naval Operations. And I remember he asked me, he said, who else got a copy of this report? I said, just you, sir. Well, and me. He started laughing. Because you don't want to compromise anything, and you don't want to be intimidated, because and you're not putting people on report. You're saving people's lives sometimes. And like I said, I don't know about your military experience, Tim, but I can tell you, I've had fun. It's been a lot of fun. You meet a lot of people. It's fun to talk about everybody's experiences or listen to their experiences and say, wow.
Let's talk about golf for a little bit here, Ken. You shot your best tournament round ever 2 weeks ago. Like, what, wasn't 3 weeks ago?
Well, what's interesting, when you mentioned golf, and let's get into this now. I love golf. I was left-handed. I didn't know if you knew this. Quick story. I qualified for the All-Navy team, and I was on the All-Bowling team. I was left-handed, though. Broke my left arm, snapped in half. That little bump, if you reach down your elbow, you see a little knot down there. That's gone. So I learned to do everything right-handed. Of course, the Admiral, we were playing basketball, breaks my elbow and wrist when we were playing basketball, and then I cut all the tendons in my right wrist. So now golf's just a lot of fun. I don't hit it as far as I did, but I learned now I got to be accurate, because if I get out of position, I'm done. And like Tim said, I shot my best round. I shot an 83. But what's interesting is that course that I shot it on, it wasn't a course so much. The senior level, I played from stakes on the D flight. I'm like, oh my God, this is what the championship flight feels like, because I'm making greens in 2, where if I'm playing on a regular tour, no way I'm getting in a skins game. A skins game is where you can get on the green in 2, at least be putting or something. I don't care if it's 70 feet away, at least you're putting for birdie. I don't even get that. I'm lucky to get on the green in 3, maybe 4, and I'm worried about just getting bogey and hopefully not double bogey, and I try not to get a triple. But on the senior tour, oh my God, this is like a whole new ball game. But then you got to stay in the fairway, where I noticed people in my flight, especially DNC, they can hit the ball a ton, but they're not accurate. Oh my God. And nobody can putt. But they can hit they're out driving me. In fact, they're packing a lunch, because by the time we get to my ball and we get to theirs, it's like in the nosebleed section. They're like 100 yards in front of me. But then I'm lucky because I'm able to keep the ball straight. Now, I might have a little distance, and I don't have the strength. Like my drive goes 180. The biggest club I carry in my bag is a 5-wood, other than the driver. It looks like I'm on the ladies' tour because everything's got head covers on. I carry 1 iron, which is the 9 iron, because I can't hit. And my best club in my bag is a putter. They go, "What are you doing?" You're like, when I shot that 83, I was hurting so bad I used the driver, putter, and stupid ball went in. I got a par. I'm like, can I catch a break here? But what's hurt me, though, is I'm a strong D player, but then when I get to the C, oh boy, these guys are shooting. They're consistent shooting 82s and 81s. And I'm like, yeah, boy. And I'm like, man, maybe this is a mistake. But I do not, and I don't believe in people I like to shoot the best possible score I can. And if it lands me in C, fine. If it lands me back in D, so be it. But I know where my strengths are. I'm no dummy. I mean, I can't compete with the guys in C, which I'm in now for the senior, and I'm in D in the regular, but I can hold my own with the D in the regular. But in the C now, the guys this time I shot a 90, I think it was this last time out. And I shot an 89 the week before. And the guys that won it were 82, 81, 80. There's no way I can do that each time. Unless, of course, I work the best wood in my bag, which is that number 2 pencil with the eraser on it, which I'm not going to do because I can't keep score all the time. But
there's also that electronic scoring thing, too. Ken.
Oh, yeah. I'd have to do both. That'd be dual task. It wouldn't work. But no, I enjoy it. I don't like the 1 ball rule is something I never heard of. So Encore helped me out because, I find a lot of golf balls here at the links at Gettysburg where I bought a house, and I donate 4,000 golf balls to the different schools. I donate 2,000 to Mount St. Mary College and 2,000 to Francis Scott. And then any of the clubs we have, I donate them to the Wounded Warriors down there in the barracks, I get through the people that could be down there in Walter Reed. But, oh my, I'd be using any ball here. They can't just be Titleist. Oh, no, they got to be Pro V. And if they can't be Pro V, they got to be Pro V1, not Pro V1X. So Encore says, here, we'll just help you out. And I met Steve Colton in Buffalo when we did the commissioning of the Little Rock, the LCS version. And he helped me out with shirts and stuff.
Well, no, I was just going to ask, as we wrap things up, you're talking about national championship. You planning on going back and playing again in either the Golfweek or the senior one?
I'm glad you mentioned that. I was waiting for that question to come up. Here's the situation. Again, I'm probably your worst player out, but I love having fun. And the one thing I like going to nationals is I get to meet Jen and Tim. Nothing against you, Tim, but Jen, I really enjoy talking with.
Jen's much better than I am anyway. Everybody knows that.
But everybody knows that. But I didn't want to say that in front of you, but now it's in the cloud. But anyhow, for to get to nationals, you either got to win your flight, which isn't going to happen with me. I've never won a flight. I mean, won the overall flight. Then the other thing is they got to draw your name or do something lucky with you. That doesn't happen. Then you got to be in the top 4 or 5 or whatever it is. And then those people automatically get a bid. And then this is me, Mr. Nailbiter, Mr. Nipper, Mr. going to the temple and praying and getting the rabbi involved and everybody else and saying, listen, you didn't make it again, did you, Master Chief? Nope, I'm below the cut line. Okay, let's go to temple here. We can work this out. And then I'm praying to the almighty Dennis God that I get a thing from Nationals that says it's open to the world. And I'm up all night. I'm not sleeping. I've got toothpicks in my eyes. I'm waiting for the email to come up. I'm refreshing the screen. Finally, hallelujah. God bless me. Here it comes. Now I'm quickly and I'm fumbling because I'm so nervous and I'm sleep deprived, but I finally get it in and say, please, dear God, let me just get registered. And then I get the email back with a thumbs up. And then you might as well chalk me out on the floor because boom, I'm in. I'm like, okay, let me make reservations now. But that's the excitement of going to nationals, and I enjoy it. But I really do. I love competing at nationals. Somehow I always seem to do well there, but I love going to nationals, whether it be the senior. I played in the seniors last year, Chris, and and I've always played when I got down there, played in the, except when I'm sick, in the regular tour. I love it. Oh my God. I look forward to that. The hair on my arms are standing up right now. Well, one of them is, but I mean, it's just it's a lot of fun, and you get to talk to everybody.
Well, Ken, thank you so much for taking some time with us. I really do appreciate it.
I'm sorry I didn't have much to say. I'm not much of a talker.
We'll work on that for next time.
I have one question for Chris. Are you going to be at nationals?
Yes, I will be
then
there.
I might just.
I'll have your $12.
It's $11.50. I just 50 cents on first. But I'll be looking forward to seeing you down there. Even if I don't get to play and stuff, I'll still be there.
Sounds good. Can't wait to see you.
Listen, Chris, a pleasure to meet you. Tim, always a pleasure. And Jen, you take care of yourself.
Jen, Ken said, take care of yourself.
I heard her.
She said same thing. All right. All right, but I'll talk to you soon.
Aye. Thanks, guys.
Man, what a conversation we had with Ken on his long journey in the military. I'm pretty sure he has more stories that he could tell us, but I mean, we want to keep this episode as short as possible with not keeping everybody falling asleep or anything,
Yeah, Ken, and I'll use Ken's words. Ken's a hoot. I've known him for a long, long time, and he is as genuine as it gets, and he has all kinds of stories. As you can tell, you're not sure which ones are true and which ones aren't. And so, the listeners aren't going to know, we had him on for a long time. They're only going to get a snippet of some of the things he told us. And, to know Ken is to love him. And I'm so glad that he could join us.
Yeah, definitely. And I was surprised he remembered the drinks he bought me. I didn't realize I was creating a tab, but I guess I'll have to pay that tab up this year.
Well, trust me, there's always a tab with Ken. Always a tab. I mean, he's got a memory. He won't forget. That's for sure.
That's good to know. I wish somebody would have told me that before.
And just to kind of go back, we really wish that we could have interviewed everybody, but obviously, with over 5,000 members across the country, and as many veterans and active duty people that we have on tour, it just wasn't possible. And so if you weren't interviewed, please don't feel slighted. We'll get you next time. I really enjoyed some of the interviews. I enjoyed all the interviews that I did and people I talked to, even the guys that I've known. I've learned some things about, like James Briggs in the Coast Guard, the places he went. I had no idea the Coast Guard did some of those things. How about you? Is there anything that kind of stood out for you?
It's like you said, there's so many people that we can interview. With having a base in town, 25-30% of my members are veterans or active duty. So it's hard to figure out who can be able to do this. But yeah, I've had conversation with these guys. When Steve told me that he would fly Blackhawks, I thought that was the coolest thing in the world, because growing up, Top Gun's my favorite movie, and I wanted to be a fighter jet pilot, and got literally pen in the hand, ready to sign. And they asked any last questions, and I said, yeah, what's your vision got to be like? And he goes, well, if you want to be a fighter jet pilot, you got to have perfect 20/20 with no help, no glasses or contacts. I said, well, here's your pen back, because that's I'm the type of guy, like, I want to be, I want to be starting. I want to be the bench player, watching everybody else be cool. I want to be the cool guy. So,
right.
It's just knowing somebody that actually got to do stuff that I wanted to do was a good conversation.
That's awesome. With Dean Weathers, the F-16 pilot, and his son is now an F-16 pilot. He said there's only like one of 2 or 3 ever father-son combos to fly F-16s, and so again, it's those good stories that that we hear that we don't necessarily know about.
Yeah.
And so I did get a couple people that said that they did not want to participate, but they really appreciated us thinking of them. And Chris, let me just, indulge me for a second. I want to read a response to a text I got, because this is one of the this is a common occurrence with people in the military, and
Right.
as we were doing this, as you come up, we're gonna talk about our tour directors that are veterans, and I told Chris we can leave my name off. It doesn't really matter. And you obviously said no, but
Right.
I'm kind of in this camp. And so just indulge me while I read what he wrote.
For sure.
Tim, I'm struggling with committing to speaking about my service on a public platform. Please know that I am tremendously humbled to be considered. In my corner of the military, anything but discretion always sounds boastful and a bit off-putting to me. I had a really cool job and experienced 10 lifetimes over the course of my career. The credit largely went to others and the relationships I built. Now that I'm retired, I prefer to fade into the background. Just know that I'm sorry that I can't do the podcast, as I have a lot of respect for Dennis and the tour. If you'd like to quote me, the latter is a fact, and the Golfweek Amateur Tour has given me a great outlet for my favorite hobby. This gentleman was an Apache helicopter pilot.
Wow.
So the military will talk about stuff to each other, but they don't generally like to talk about it to everybody else. And that to me, that's a pretty powerful statement, to say he's lived 10 lifetimes just during the course of his career, and the really cool job that he had. But I appreciate the follow up from him on that, and to be able to share that, so that others can kind of understand and kind of get the mentality of these men and women that serve.
Right. Yeah. Everyone has their own experience. I know in my interview with Billy, he uses golf as an outlet for his PTSD and trying to, get his mind right and use it as his escape, you could say. So everybody has their own stories, and not some of them are, all sunshines, and some aren't. That's their stories that if they're willing to tell, great. But we appreciate, at least the response, and let you know that we are grateful for what you did for us.
Absolutely. And we talk about our members that have served, and when you and I talked about putting this episode together, we wanted to make sure that we were talking to not that us as tour directors aren't members, but we wanted to make sure this focus was solely on our members. And that's why we didn't actually interview any tour directors. But I do want to recognize, or we do want to recognize, our tour directors who are veterans. And it's really an impressive list. Combined, there's over 190 years of service, just from our tour directors.
Yeah.
And so I'll start. We got Adam Cahill, who's the New York Upstate Tour Director. He served 4 years in the Navy.
Yeah, we have Cephas Franklin, DC Metro new tour director, served 21 years in the Air Force.
And Derek Hart from the Pacific Northwest Tour, 30 years in the U.S. Army.
Steve Kubik, the senior Augusta tour director, 25 years as a Marine.
And this is a really cool one right here. From the Eastern North Carolina Tour, we have Patina Martinez, who served 5 years in the Navy, and Marty Martinez, who served 24 years as a Marine.
We have Robbie Robinson, Orlando tour director, 17 and a half years in the Air Force.
And Dave Phillips, a new tour director. He's a senior DC Metro tour director. He served 26 years in the Air Force.
Donnie Thomas, Jacksonville tour director, 4 years in the Air Force.
And Tim Sumption from the Charleston Tour, 25 years in the Navy.
Butch Novak, Golfweek and senior Columbus tour director,
And then there's Larry Maitland. He's the senior Southeast Virginia and senior South Central Virginia tour director. He served 4 years in the Navy.
And last but not least, I know you didn't want to be mentioned, but we're going to give you your recognition. Mr. Tim Newman, Atlanta tour director, 3 years in the Army.
Thank you, Chris. And again, thank you to all our tour directors that have served. We can't tell you how much we appreciate your service. And again, just remember, for those people that are saying, well, May is really geared towards Memorial Day, but we have to understand that there is a difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day and Military Appreciation Day. And so, again, like I said, this is really kind of, we chose to do it around this time because of Military Appreciation Month, Memorial Day, and Military Appreciation Day as well, which was actually this past Saturday, May 20th. And Chris, I don't know how much this comes across to a lot of people. We always talk about the actual veterans that have served. But what's always forgotten is, the family serves as well.
Right.
The husbands, the wives, the brothers, the sisters, the sons, the daughters, when, especially when, their loved ones are deployed, they're left at home to, the mothers, fathers, the husbands, wives, whatever the case may be, they're left at home to raise the family, to keep the fort down, to make sure that, if you're an officer's wife, to make sure that the enlisted wives and enlisted families are taken care of. And so they serve as well. And they take a big brunt of the, of living life and keeping things going while their loved one is deployed.
Yeah, it's a big thing to have to do, because I don't think they chose that, knowing that their partner is in the military. So it's a big commitment, and we thank all of y'all for your sacrifice.
So I hope, when on Memorial Day, when you're having your friends over, your barbecue, you're playing your golf or at the beach or whatever it is that you choose to do, that you take some time and remember what that day is about. And without those people that have given the ultimate sacrifice, we don't have some of the freedoms that we do. So please take a moment and reflect on that.
Yes, definitely. It's only takes a little while to just reflect on those things.
So again, thank you to all the veterans. Thank you to the service members that chose to be interviewed and on this podcast. We really appreciate it. Hey, Chris, let's talk about the next episode. We're going to have, got to have Roger back on. It's been a while since he's been on.
Yeah, we got to talk about some rules. I don't think there were any crazy rules in this last PGA event, but we can get some stuff cleared up that I know he wants to talk about.
Well, there was the one penalty for letting the ball hang on the lip a little bit too long.
I didn't even see that.
There was I think he let the ball hang on the lip. It was like for 34 seconds. And I can't remember who it was. The name is escaping right now. But anyway, he left it hang on the lip. It fell in after, I think it was like at 35 seconds. He wrote down a par when he ended up with a bogey. And it's just one of those things.
So hold on. You're telling me they're timing how long it stays on the lip, but not how long people are searching for golf balls.
Exactly. That's that's one of those crazy things. So
that's insane. So we're gonna have him on. I'm pretty sure we'll have some good guests like we always do. I know there's the regional coming up. So good luck to all the people that are playing in the regional as well.
Yeah, there's two regionals. One at Whistling Straits and one at PGA West.
Yep, I got a couple guys going to. I have a couple guys going to PGA West, so I'm going to be watching that scoreboard pretty closely, see if they can bring home some trophies.
And again, if anybody has any questions, please don't hesitate to email us. You can email me at TimNATC@amateurgolftour.net. Chris?
my email is elpaso@amateurgolftour.net. And remember, questions don't have to be rules questions either. Ask us any questions you might have an interest in getting an answer to.
Yeah, please. Anything that's radio appropriate, we'd be happy to. We'd be happy to answer. It'll be a hoot. I hope everybody has a great Memorial Day. Really looking forward to getting back out there. It's the unofficial start of summer, and right after Memorial Day, Chris, we're in June. We're halfway through the year already.
Yes, we are. With our golf, we get weather like crazy, and I don't know if I told you, we got hailed on for 30 minutes on my Saturday event.
Oh my!
Up in the mountains. So, you say it's the start of summer, but I want to say I don't think so, because that was interesting to see hail on May. But yeah, it's halfway through. I can't believe it. My body's feeling it. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
But this is the fun time where there's a bunch of traveling happening. Like you said, summer's coming. So if you are traveling and you want to play some golf, look at other tours. See if they have events going on, and kind of squeeze them in if your significant other allows you to play golf during your vacation time.
Yeah, you're going out to the regional. Is that in July?
In July, yeah, for July 2nd and 3rd, or 3rd and 4th, I believe, in Benson.
Okay, and we're going to do some interviews while you're out there, and that'll be fun. But again, I think we had 40 tournaments, 40 Golfweek tournaments going on just this past weekend. So every tour is playing, plenty of golf to be played. Check the schedule, either your local or traveling schedule, get out there and start competing.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be fun. If you're out there in that regional, come say hi. I'm always open to have a conversation with our listeners. It's always a good thing when you're out there and somebody gives us kudos for what we're doing. I think it's turned out to be very well what we started.
Exactly. All right, my friend. You enjoy yourself. Have a good Memorial Day weekend. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
Bye-bye. Chris, we didn't do it again.
What didn't we do?
We didn't say how to join the tour.
That's right. It's simple. All you need to do is go to amateurgolftour.net, click the Join the Tour button, and pay your local tour's membership.
Thanks, Chris. Membership for 2024 is open, so register today to join the oldest, largest, and best amateur tour in the country.